Hi there. Sorry, we're getting ready to go on the radio. Want to make sure all systems are go. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. We'll be joining the radio audience momentarily. Uno momento. Hey, good morning. Welcome. Freedom's Pep Rally. John James here at your service. Freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as Mike Violette says. Thank you, sir. Thank you, my friend, for being here this morning with me. We have 2 uninterrupted hours of talk, freedom, love, camaraderie, and Americana. Good and bad. And I thought I was going to have 2 guests today, but I've only got 1. So as it turns out, I'm going to be able to bring you a few scenes maybe you have not seen yet from Capital Punishment, the movie, the Nick Searcy film done on the 16th. Excuse me. By the way, we do. Yeah, we do have a little, just a little work going on in and around the studio this morning. We got some great flooring being put in by H.T. Witters, some Tarkett flooring. I love it. And it turns out these guys only work during the day. Can you imagine that? They only work during the daytime. So they're doing a little work here. They aren't going to be too long, but there may be a little hammering in the background. Don't worry. Nobody is getting injured or anything like that. Okay, let's see. So coming up at 11 o'clock, I will tell you about our guest here just a second. I need to do something really quick. You know, I have so many mice here, both live and computer. And sometimes I grab the wrong one, and Mike knows what that's like because he's got the same thing going on at his studio. So we understand each other to that end. So coming up at 11 o'clock this morning, we have a guy named E. This is the second day in a row we've had a guy with a first initial, E. Everett Bartlett. And we're going to be talking the truth about domestic violence. International media and advocacy campaign this man has put together to expose the domestic violence big lie. And it's going to include, but will not be limited to, the fact that women are, and we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago with a woman who is an advocate, who pointed out that women are by and large more abused by domestic partners and in domestic situations than men, but men are also abused, and there are no socioeconomic limitations either, or educational. It's just one of those horrible things that some people, I guess, are. I don't know. We'll find out more. E. Everett Bartlett, president and founder of the Coalition to End Domestic Violence. So we're looking forward to that coming up at 11 o'clock. Now we've got a bunch of audio, bunch of great video for you this morning if you're watching on one of our video live streams. By the way, happy Friday to everybody who's checking in. I sure do appreciate it. If you would like to check in, you can do it on any of our social media pages. I can't guarantee I'm going to see all of them, but we are on, we're at legacy1160.com first and foremost. Click on video, and our Rumble video appears there every day from 6 to noon. Mike Violette from 6 to 9. I'm there from 9 to noon. And it's all brought to you by Moody's Collision Center. All our platforms, including Legacy 1160's Facebook page, Right America Media, Freedom's Pep Rally, American Women Who Bear Arms, YouTube, Rumble. They're all there, all brought to you by Moody's Collision Center. Audio at the website, legacy1160.com, is brought to you by our friends at Harry J. Smith Company. They're on Sanger Avenue in Waterville, of course, and the free app, which you can download right now. Go to the Apple Store or Google Play, powered by Hardy Wolf and Downing, Maine's injury attorneys. 1-800-INJURED or Hardy Wolf Wolf.com. I get a kick out of people who say woof. The big bad wolf. I don't know. I've always thought that, you know people who do that, right? Oh, there's a wolf. There's a wolf in the hen house. No, it's a wolf. All right, some people have a hard time with the L. The wolf in sheep's clothing, the wolf. Anyway, I digress. 9:08, let's find out what happened on this day in history. We're going to be right back. Please share the freedom. Please return. We aren't going far. It is December the 3rd, and this is the Association.
December 3rd, 1967. Surgeons in Cape Town, South Africa, led by Dr. Christian Barnard, performed the first human heart transplant. The patient, Louis Washkansky, lives 18 days with his new heart. 1984. A horrific industrial accident kills thousands of people in Bhopal, India. That's where a cloud of methyl isocyanate gas escapes from a pesticide plant operated by a Union Carbide subsidiary. Investigators later conclude operating and safety procedures at the understaffed plant caused the disaster. 1964, a sign that the times are a-changin' as police arrest some 800 students at the University of California at Berkeley. The day before, students stormed the campus administration building, staging a massive sit-in. Mario Savio was with the student free speech movement.
All the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop, and you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
1947.
Hey, Stella! Hey, Stella!
In New York, actor Marlon Brando hits the big time as A Streetcar Named Desire opens on Broadway. Brando reprises his role as Stanley Kowalski in the movie version of the play a few years later. And in 1948, Black Sabbath singer Ozzy Osbourne was born. Today in history, December 3rd, John Belmont, The Associated Press.
You know, it's a sad thing. I don't want to say Ozzy Osbourne is old, but nowadays he has to have Sharon cut up his bats for him. It's, you know, how life changes when you get older, right? It's the absolute truth. I'm not lying to you about that. Who else is having a birthday today? There's somebody else I wanted to wish a happy birthday to. I think it was a member of the Manson. Now, I'm not lying to you. It's a member of the Manson family. Did you know Charles Manson is dead? It was a long time before I realized. Maybe it's just I couldn't accept his death. But Charles Manson is a goner. He is a goner. Charles Manson is a goner. And, but some of the family, I guess, is still alive. Wait a minute. I want to see if you recognize the name. That may have been your era. Here it is. Here it is. Patricia Krenwinkel. Former Manson family member, Patricia Krenwinkel. Recognize that name? She's 74 years old today. If you want to send her a gift, she's registered at Blood Bath and Beyond. Too soon? Is it too soon? No. All right. Sorry about that. It's 9:12 here on Legacy 1160 WSKW. And welcome to the show. Please share. Please share. Tell people, tune in, be here, join us. Live local talk, 6 hours every Monday through Friday. Pleased to be a part of your day, every day. Some news out of Waukesha, Wisconsin. This will make you want to gag. According to the Political Insider, on Wednesday, Darrell Brooks Jr., a.k.a. Math Boy Fly, the racist who hates white people and hates police, the guy who left 6 people, including an 8-year-old little boy, dead and scores injured after he rammed through a parade route, zigzagging back and forth, trying to hit people, clearly. He broke his silence to Fox News Digital yesterday, or Wednesday. He used the opportunity to complain that he is being demonized and dehumanized. I want to let that sink in just for a second. He is being demonized and dehumanized as the country has found out who he is and the nature of his horrible crime. Reaction has been quite swift. A Waukesha court official called it shocking, and an ex-girlfriend of Brooks called it a monstrous act, completely irredeemable. But he is being dehumanized and demonized, according to him. During the interview with Fox News Digital, Brooks said, it's just absurd. He said, quote, "I just feel like I'm being made out to be a monster, demonized." Okay, I don't know. That is a real head shaker. Fox reporters described him as soft-spoken and lucid. So he was clearly of sound mind. He's charged with 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide in that parade massacre. Irredeemable, absolutely. And we have a new Republican in America. According to Republic Brief, there's a guy who formerly was the spokesperson for Muriel Bowser. You know who Muriel Bowser is, right? She is the mayor of Washington, D.C. This guy is the former spokesperson for her. He left Bowser's office, and he told Fox News on Wednesday that President Biden's tenure in office led him to change party affiliation and also to vote for GOP businessman Glenn Youngkin for governor of Virginia. He lives in Virginia. Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Sears, the lieutenant governor-elect. Tucker Carlson asked him on Wednesday why he decided to switch parties. This is what he had to say.
I will continue to fearlessly put America first. Never.
All right. Whoa. Now, I'm not sure where that came from. That isn't exactly, that's not exactly what I had in mind. Oh, I know what happened. Never mind. Do I know what happened? Yes, I think I do. I don't know why it happened, but I think I know what happened. All right, I want you to hear this guy. Hold on. I'm entitled one screw up. It's not my screw up. I'm going to pass the blame here. Bear with me. I have no idea what I'm looking at. Hang on. Well, that's just a tad embarrassing for me. I see exactly what happened, though. All right. Here we go. Here is what he told Tucker Carlson. Why did he leave the Democratic Party after he left Muriel Bowser's office?
The reason I switched parties is because of everything that's going on in the country right now. We see, immigration through the roof right now, and that's affecting a lot of Hispanic families in my home state of Virginia. And those people who are already struggling with, making ends meet. Another reason why I left the Democratic Party, it's because of the immigration issue that's going on right now in our country.
Yeah.
And if you look at the southern border, we have thousands of people who are, just waiting there. And I'm not saying we don't have good people trying to come into the country with good intentions, but we also have bad people coming into the country with bad intentions. People with illegal guns, with illegal drugs, and people who are running from their law enforcement in their country. So we don't know exactly what they're doing here. And so those reasons and more made me switch parties, because Biden is completely destroying the economy right now, and people can feel it in their pockets and in their communities with, increased violence and increased crime, and people, especially in the Hispanic community, can feel it.
All right. His name is Victor Jimenez, and he said a mouthful right there, and that's why he left the Democratic Party. Joe Biden is such an abject failure at every turn. So is Kamala Harris, by the way. Did you know that for people now, it's like a revolving door for Kamala Harris? CNN did this expose about people leaving. They're unhappy, and we don't know exactly why. We've heard she can be real tough to work for. She's clearly a failure at everything she's been charged with doing, and she has shown no sign of any competence whatsoever. So it's no wonder that she is losing people, but I would like to know why. And maybe we'll find out at some point. But either way, her staff is leaving, and it's not going to be easy probably to replace that many people. And she already isn't making any appearances, really, with the staff she's got. They can't seem to get her out there, and now she's losing them every day, it seems. So where is this all going to end? And what does it all mean? Who knows? I mean, I think it's all a sign of what's going on. And what's going on right now in this country is not good for anybody. It's not good for anybody, progressives or conservatives. Progressives will suck it up and sound the mantra. They will follow the narrative. They will comply, but they can't possibly, I don't see anyone on Facebook and Twitter saying, wow, Biden's doing a great job. The only people who say Biden's doing a great job are the ladies on The View, Joy Reid, and a few at MSNBC and CNN. But I don't see anybody on social media, anybody in the general public saying, oh boy, that Joe Biden, what a great job he's doing. Do you? Seriously, I'm serious about that. Checking your time right now, 9:21. I'm John James. We are brought to you by the Gun Shop on Coney Circle in Augusta. Glad to have you here with us, and I hope you'll stick around. We've got just an action-packed show this morning, and I want to cover a little Ilhan Omar news. We're going to get into COVID in a little while. We've got a bunch of things we need to get into and will. And I love having all this free, open time that we can just talk. And your comments are welcome. And I'm going to try to get into these as we go along here. If anybody wants to say anything, according to Jen Psaki, the staff is burning out. Yeah, can you imagine that? Burning out not even a year into the administration? Mayor Bowser should get a job. Yeah, she really should. Mayor Bowser is another abject failure. And the reason, one of the reasons she is pushing so hard for D.C. to become a state, Muriel Bowser, the mayor, is because she wants to have all the power. This is a hallmark of most on the left and many on the right, power and control. And we'll get into that about Joe Biden coming up a little later on this morning if we have time. Right now, let's look at a little issue that came up last week. At a speech in Colorado, I think it was maybe it wasn't in Colorado, come to think of it. But it was a speech by Colorado Congresswoman, freshman Congresswoman, Lauren Boebert, who is, she's a gun activist, a pro-gun activist, and she's ironically from the town of Rifle, Colorado, where she owns a business called Shooter's Grill. Now, she did a speech in which she threw the squad, and in particular, Ilhan Omar, under the proverbial bus. And she got some laughs out of her audience, which I guess was good for her. If you're going for laughs, it was pretty good. Now, I don't care what you think of it. I actually thought I got a chuckle at knowing what a scourge Ilhan Omar has been in our government. I've got to tell you, no guilt. I actually laughed at her comments. Some people say she went too far, but you be the judge. I want you to be the judge. You weigh in. Now, keep in mind the anti-Semitic, anti-American things Omar has said in the past when you hear this. This is Lauren Boebert at her speech, and she's talking about Ilhan Omar.
So the other night on the House floor was not my first Jihad Squad moment. So I was getting into an elevator with one of my staffers, and he and I were leaving the Capitol. We're going back to my office, and we get in the elevator, and I see a Capitol police officer running hurriedly to the elevator. I see fret all over his face, and he's reaching, and I'm like, "What? The door's shutting. Like I can't open it. Like what's happening?" I look to my left, and there she is, Ilhan Omar. Oops. And I said, well, she doesn't have a backpack. We should be fine. So we only had one floor to go, and I was like, do I say it or not? I looked over, and I said, oh, look, the Jihad Squad decided to show up for work today.
All right. The big problem with that for the left, the biggest, I mean, talking about the Jihad Squad, they don't like that at all. But she said, I saw Ilhan Omar. She didn't have a backpack, so that was good. That was the big, suggesting a bomb. And it was a joke at Ilhan Omar's expense. Okay. But yeah, think about all of the things, and it was well received by the crowd there, by the way. Think of all the things Ilhan Omar has said. We'll get to some of these things. Oh, you think I'm going to say, well, the things she said and not let you hear the things she has actually said? Oh, no way. No way. On Friday, Boebert did tweet an apology to anyone in the Muslim community offended by her comments, but did not apologize to Omar. So she apologized. And as we've said before, you can't judge everybody in a group by a single person. You cannot. Ilhan Omar has proven to be an Islamist. And Islamists, not all Islamists are necessarily jihadists, but all jihadists are Islamists, not Muslims necessarily, not Muslims, but Islamists, which takes being a Muslim to a much more violent level, let's say. So the apology did not include a direct apology to Ilhan Omar, but to the Muslim community, which is good. I think that's good, and I think that was apropos. She basically said, I didn't mean it about all Muslims. I was directing this at Ilhan Omar only. Well, as Omar pushed for a direct public apology, here's what Boebert said. Said that Omar should make an apology to the American people for her past rhetoric. And after that, Boebert said, Omar hung up on me when I called to talk with her. Yeah, she later reached out to Omar to apologize, but Omar said it was not an apology. According to Ilhan Omar, quote, instead of apologizing for her Islamophobic comments and fabricated lies, it was a story, by the way. It was clearly a story. It wasn't true. I don't think any of it was true. I mean, she may have seen her getting on an elevator. It may have been some basis in truth, but you know, it was meant as a knock at her. I get that. Boebert refused to publicly acknowledge her hurtful and dangerous comments, according to Omar. She instead doubled down on her rhetoric, and I decided to end the unproductive call. I believe in engaging with those who disagree with respectfully. I don't know what that meant, but English probably isn't her first language. I'll give her that. But not when that disagreement is rooted in outright bigotry and hate. You mean like some of your comments, Ilhan? Here's a report on Fox News after this incident, and this features Lauren Boebert. This begins with Lauren Boebert, and then the report. Listen.
I will continue to fearlessly put America first, never sympathizing with terrorists. Unfortunately, Ilhan can't say the same thing, and our country is worse off for it.
Correct.
Lauren Boebert said she wanted a meeting, but Ilhan Omar made it clear that would not happen. Both parties tell Fox there were no raised voices on the call. Boebert tells Fox Omar hung up on her. Omar's office says it was clear the call wasn't going anywhere. Omar says Boebert doubled down on her remarks. Boebert said she wants Omar to apologize for anti-Semitic and anti-police rhetoric. Omar's office tells Fox the Minnesota Democrat announced she was ending the call, then hung up. This remark is what sparked the dispute.
I looked to my left, and there she is, Ilhan Omar. And I said, well, she doesn't have a backpack. We should be fine.
Boebert also referred to Omar as a member of the, quote, jihad squad on the House floor earlier this month. Democratic leaders demanded the GOP, quote, take real action to confront racism. Democrats have tinkered with trying to censure Boebert and remove her from committees. The House already voted to strip Republicans Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar of their committee assignments.
Okay, so why does this only happen with Republicans? Where are the feckless rhinos and Republicans when somebody like Ilhan Omar accuses America of being a terrorist state? Where are feckless people like the rhinos when Ilhan Omar is anti-Semitic? Where are they saying we've got to take her off her committees? She's on the Judicial Committee. I think that's it, or the Foreign Affairs Committee, one of those, an important committee Ilhan Omar sits on. Nobody talks about taking, and Nancy Pelosi, I understand Ilhan. So you take Gosar, you take Marjorie Taylor Greene, now you want to take Boebert off her committees. They just can't get enough of canceling people. No, she's so racist. Look at what Omar has done. No, listen to what Omar has done. Here is a piece of news. I just use this term so lightly, and I laugh when I say it because it's not. It's propaganda. Here's a piece of propaganda from MSNBC, queuing Ilhan Omar up to take a swipe at Boebert. They're opening the door. They're giving her the open door. Listen to this.
Let's talk about Lauren Boebert. Let's talk about this congresswoman from Colorado. It's hard to know what to believe from her. She's a former QAnon sympathizer. QAnon. You say she made up the story about her and you in an elevator and the backpack nonsense. How about the video she put out on Monday claiming she told you to apologize to the American people for being anti-American or whatever? What happened on that call? What was said?
What a moron.
Yeah, she has been reaching out for a couple of days. And as she put out in her statement, said that she wanted to issue a public apology to me. And as you know, Mehdi, I have written leniency requests for the men who you were talking about earlier, who was being sentenced. So I believe in redemption, and I believe in giving people the opportunity to redeem themselves. I was raised with that kind of compassion, and that stays with me.
Oh, that kind of compassion. Oh, my word, she's compassionate. Okay, let's hear some of Ilhan Omar's compassion, shall we?
I will never co-sign on funding a police department that continues to brutalize us. And I will never stop saying, not only do we need to disinvest in police, but we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department. The Minneapolis Police Department is rotten to the root. And so when we dismantle it, we get rid of that cancer and we allow for something beautiful to rise.
To rise? To rise? How about that? Let's hear some more compassion from Ilhan.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something.
Oh. Some people did something. And here she is defending her statements that Israel and the United States are terrorists and praising the Globalist International Criminal Court, the ICC. Here's more compassion from Ilhan.
Ultimately, Democratic leaders said that equating the U.S. and Israel with Hamas and the terror and the Taliban.
That's what she did.
Quote, foments prejudice.
It does.
And as you know, a group of Jewish House Democrats wrote a letter to President Biden saying that accusing Israel of acts of terror, as you and other members of the squad have done, is anti-Semitic.
It is.
Do you regret these comments?
I don't. I think it's really important to think back to the point that I was trying to make. Obviously, I was addressing Secretary of State Blinken. The cases are put together in front of the ICC. ICC has been investigating. I know that, some of my colleagues don't lend legitimacy to the ICC, but I tend to think that people around the world who have experienced injustice need to be able to have a place where they can go. And as a country that helped found the ICC and supported it, I think that it is really important for us to continue to find ways in which people can find justice around the world.
Okay, it's very important. It's very, very important. I get that. So back to the apology. Here is this about the apology call. There was no apology to Ilhan Omar for the statements Lauren Boebert made. Now, you can be the judge of whether or not she was out of line when she made the comments. Fact is, she did not directly apologize to Ilhan Omar. So, back to the call here with Lauren Boebert, Ilhan. With all that compassion you have, what exactly did you do?
And so I thought, okay, let's do this. Let's give her the opportunity to tell me, as she has said, she's reflected on it, what she reflected on. And does she understand the weight of her words? And when she read the statement that she put out, something about apologizing to Muslims for the comment.
She did.
And went into some weird tirade. And I said, it was my understanding that this call was supposed to be about you expressing your understanding of why your words were hurtful and what you plan to do publicly about it. And she continued to talk. And I said, if you're not going to apologize and acknowledge your dangerous and hateful rhetoric, I'm going to hang up. And that's what I did.
She hung up. So she hung up. Now, I don't know if you heard about this. There is no excuse for this. Ilhan Omar actually played a recording back from her phone, presumably her voicemail, of somebody threatening her life. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I just don't get. I don't get that. There are unhinged people out there, though, and they will do these things, whether or not that was a direct result of anything Lauren Boebert said. That's who knows. I think Ilhan Omar has pretty much made her own bed, as it were, with her anti-Semitic statements. Maybe the man was Jewish or had some Jewish friends or was married to a woman who was Jewish or who knows, and doesn't like the anti-Semitic component. Maybe he doesn't like the fact that she referred to the America, a country he and I and you are proud of, doesn't like it being referred to as a terrorist comparable to Hamas. Maybe that triggered him. I don't know. Any one of those things could have triggered a comment like that. It shouldn't have. Anytime somebody threatens a life, there's a problem there. You draw the line there when you start threatening people's lives. However, hateful rhetoric aside, you have created hateful rhetoric with your own words, Ilhan Omar. Think of where you are. Think of what you have. Think of how you got here. Did you get here legally? You married your brother. In fact, no, that's a fact. That's proven. She married a brother. Whether she's here illegally or legally is, I'm not going to make a, there's evidence on both sides. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. But that aside, I want to play you this piece just because it's funny. There's a guy who is a Donald Trump impersonator, and he doesn't look a thing like Donald Trump. So, again, sorry about the hammers. That's a way. Oh, okay. I don't have that one. I don't have that clip here of the Donald Trump impersonator. Very funny, though. It's very funny, and I will get to it a little later. I do have to take a break right now, though, so please come back and join us. I'm John James, and this is Freedom's Pep Rally.
Legacy 1160 WSKW.
If you love to shop, whether it's for yourself or for others, you've got to visit Town Line Antiques. With new items arriving nearly every day, you never know what treasure you may stumble upon. Whether it's vintage signs, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, books, comics, artwork, or classic electronics, you're always sure to find something that tickles your fancy. Plus, there's a lot of great furniture, glassware, and household goods. And their vintage Christmas booth is now fully stocked with many wonderful items. If you're looking for ornaments, lights, stockings, figurines, or any other holiday decor, you've got to stop by to shop this dazzling selection. You'll also find Santas galore with dolls, pictures, ceramics, and more. Or how about a classic Christmas toy, like a teddy bear or a truck? Townline Antiques is a great place to find that truly one-of-a-kind gift, or treat yourself to a trip through some wonderful memories with a present for yourself. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
Hi, this is Teresa Smith, Assistant Dean of Enrollment at Kennebec Valley Community College. After nearly 30 years at the college, rarely a day goes by that I don't run into someone who tells me they graduated from KVCC or that their son, daughter, wife, or cousin went to KVCC. What a privilege it is for me to work somewhere that has such a positive impact. KVCC offers the training people need to enter high-demand, high-paying jobs while keeping the cost of education low. Whether you want to earn a degree or just need short-term training to learn a new skill, KVCC's got you covered. Our spring semester starts on January 10th, and I would really love it if you were the next person to say to me, "Hey, don't you work at KVCC?" Please check us out online at kvcc.me.edu or call 453-5822. That's 453-KVCC.
Need a strong, dependable truck to take on the upcoming winter months? Stop in to save on new Ram trucks at Haight Chrysler Dodge Jeep during Ram Power Days, going on now through the end of September. Haight Chrysler Dodge Jeep, 507 Lakewood Road, Clowes Corner, Madison.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Mostly sunny but windy and colder today. A few snow showers are possible in the mountains this morning. Temperatures will stay just in the low to mid 30s for today, but feeling colder with gusty northwesterly winds. Partly sunny, low to mid 30s Saturday and Sunday, with the chance for snow showers Saturday evening. More rain Monday, but back in the 50s.
All right, thank you very much, Lexi. In case you're just tuning in, we just covered the Lauren Boebert-Ilhan Omar feud. And They're trying to. Democrats are now talking about taking Lauren Boebert off of her committee assignments. Like they did Paul Gosar, like they did Marjorie Taylor Greene. There have been no Democrats taking off their committee assignments. There have been some pretty outrageous things done by Democrats. You think? So I know they've got the majority too. So that doesn't help Republicans any. But I haven't seen many Republicans, outside of a very few. You've got Chip Roy of Texas. You've got Matt Gaetz stands up. Ted Cruz stands up. Jim Jordan. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Right? Lauren Boebert. They have guts. This is. I would count people like Jim Jordan in with the new, and even Ted Cruz in with that new conservative mindset. They understand where the party's going. It's going in a good direction, by the way. I don't care what any of the Mitch McConnells and the Lindsey Grahams. They're yesterday. They are yesterday. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Don't need you anymore. Susan Collins, love you. Bye-bye. Don't need you. Don't need you. So anyway, let's listen to the Trump impersonator before we go on. I've got it ready now. This you look at who has gotten removed from their committee assignments and who is always told they're un-American and fascist. Do you understand how wrong it is? And it's always the right that is called fascists. Antifa stands up more for the left. Antifa is more a leftist organization. And they call the conservatives, fascists. That's wrong. They have no clue what the definition of fascist is. They have no idea. Fascist is basically a dictatorship. The conservatives are anything but a dictatorship. Nothing but like a dictatorship. Neither are they anarchists. Right? I mean, we have laws. We aren't huge government, which is dictatorial, Marxist, and we don't have no government. But we are a constitutional republic. We have limited government, we have laws, we have freedom. Anyway, here's this piece by this Donald Trump impersonator. He looks nothing like Trump. And he's talking about Ilhan Omar. That's why I figured this would fit here. Talking about Ilhan Omar, and it's quick. It's pretty funny, though.
Ilhan Omar, when you think about it, total loser, and she married her brother, okay? She married her brother, and she should apologize for doing that, because you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to marry your brother. And here she is, a disgusting person, and she should apologize for being a disgusting person and marrying her brother. She talks to disgusting people like the Squad, AOC, and Lauren Boebert calls it something fantastic. She calls the Squad something amazing when you think about it. But Ilhan Omar, and she married her brother, and everybody knows it, okay? Everybody knows she did that. And it's disgusting, and she should apologize, believe me.
Okay, that guy, his impression is spot on. If you weren't looking at him, and if you were just listening, you didn't see him. But if you were just listening to him, you would think that's Donald Trump talking, wouldn't you? I would. I'm pretty familiar with Trump's voice, and I would think that's Donald Trump if I were just listening on a radio or an audio stream, which you may well be, as a matter of fact. 9:47 now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. John James at your service. And if you want to weigh in, please do it on our social media platform, or you can email me directly. You can go right to email me at freedomspeprally@gmail.com. I am logged into that. So if you want to reach out, or you can private message me, direct message me on Facebook I'll be watching that during the show as well. So if you want to get on the air or something, you want to call, we'll call you. We'll get you on the air if you have something pertinent to talk about. And I would love to do that. I would love to talk with you. Time right now, 9:48 on Legacy 1160. I've got a piece by Mark Levin I wanted to play, but we don't have time to do that right now. I don't know if we'll have time to do it this morning. But it's a great piece about the hypocrisy of the mainstream media. And Mark Levin wonders, just as I do, how people like Al Sharpton and Joy Reid, raging racists both, inciting violence and rage across the country, they are the instigators of more violence in America than any conservative has been in the last decade, or 2 decades, or 3 decades, maybe in history. Joy Reid. It's a great piece, and if we have time, I'll play it for you next hour. I want to report to you that a triggered teacher has now quit a Michigan public school after refusing to take down a rainbow flag in his classroom, according to MLive. His name is Russell Ball, 43, physical education and health teacher at Three Rivers Middle School. He resigned last week immediately. According to the outlet, Three Rivers is about 40 minutes south of Kalamazoo, Michigan, in the southwest corner. He told WXMI TV that a parental complaint led to higher-ups ordering the pride flag removed. Really, should there be any other flag in the classroom, in a schoolroom, other than, I've got a couple of stories, a couple of school stories for you this morning. This is the first one, and we'll have time, I think, for the other one. It's about a Chicago school, or a Chicago school system. Anyway, here's Russell Ball. He did a video on his way home talking about why he had quit his job at the school after they ordered him to remove the pride flag from his room. Russell Ball.
After 10 plus years in education, I tendered my resignation today, drove home for the last time, and won't be returning. I was already feeling a high level of teacher burnout and struggling to meet the day-to-day demands of the education field. But when administration came around and told me I had to take down my pride flag, I told them no. I was not going to be an active participant in the suppression and oppression of an already marginalized group that I'm a part of. The pride flag stands for love, inclusion, and equality, something that should be present in every single classroom across the country. By removing it, I feel like I'm being told I am invalidated, that I don't belong. And that's not a message I want to send to myself or to any of my students, because regardless of sexual orientation, sexual identity, you belong, you matter, and you always have a place in this world. The pride flag is not a political statement. It's a human rights statement. We're all human. We should all have the same rights. But we don't.
All right. Here's the takeaway. It's not a political statement. Yeah, it is. We're marginalized. Why? Because you continuously try to bring attention to yourself. No, you shouldn't. Yes, you do have all the same. What rights do you not have? I've got a lot of friends who are either gay or bisexual, heterosexual, or I'm sorry, that's the wrong term. Wait, help me here. What is it? is it pansexual? I don't know the new term. It's heterosexual, so old, so yesterday, right? Yeah, you do have the same rights. So why do you have to what if I, as a straight white guy, put a straight white guy flag in a classroom? Why should I have a right to do that? I shouldn't. Why should I? If I want to put a Canadian flag up because my mother was French heritage, if I want to hang a Canadian flag up in the classroom, why should I be able to? Then everybody should be able to put their own flag up. The American flag. So you can't put your pride flag up so you don't have rights? Really? You got a great voice, by the way. You've got a poor attitude, but you got a great voice. This is just out of control. It's just, so he quit his job. He quit his job because they asked him to take down his pride flag. Woohoo! Okay. All right. Whatever. Good luck. Is that a stipulation? Next interview you have, well, I'm not going to work here unless I can put my pride flag in the classroom. Now, if they refuse to allow me to put an American flag in the classroom, I'd be all done with that. But I bet you he wouldn't have minded that. Take your American flag down. Okay, take your pride down flag. I quit. Pride flag down, not pride down flag. Yeah, I got that. All right, and here is what's going on in Chicago. Now, mind you, if you're just listening and not watching, these are the kids in this video. I think it covers all kids, but the kids in this particular video are like first, second, third graders. Chicago.
Steps to create more inclusive and supportive schools. One change that will be implemented this school year relates to our school bathrooms. In compliance with new federal guidelines, all CPS students and staff will have fair and equitable access to bathroom facilities that align with their gender identity. We will be providing all schools with updated signage that makes our bathrooms more inclusive. It will identify the fixtures available in each restroom and make it clear that all restrooms are open for use by anyone who feels comfortable. Staff will continue to have staff-only restrooms available to them. This is an incredibly important step to increase gender equity for all, which is why we will be requiring all schools to post this signage by December 1st of this school year. Our district's Office of Student Protections in Title IX is also working on a long-term plan to create more permanent signage for our bathrooms.
I encourage you to visit our website at cps.edu/OSP to learn more about our comprehensive approach to creating more inclusive, equitable, and safe schools. If you have any questions, you can email us at osp@cps.edu.
We look forward to having a safe and successful school year at every school in every neighborhood across Chicago. Thank you.
All right, so you can use any bathroom, kids, any bathroom that you feel comfortable. That's exactly what she said. Any bathroom that you feel comfortable in. Notice they didn't address anybody who felt uncomfortable, who felt comfortable in their skin, but uncomfortable having somebody of, the opposite sex come in. That's all Chicago public schools, by the way. Marginalized. The last two stories, all about marginalized. To hell with the masses. We need to take care of the marginalized first, and the majority, you just take a back seat. We'll worry about you at a later time. We've got to take care of the marginalized group first. Special right. Remember, we were promised no special right, nobody. These are special rights. These are rights not afforded by the Constitution because they infringe on other people's rights. They are not constitutional rights. They infringe on others. Your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. What is going on here? And the virtue signaling left is all about making sure everybody feels good except the majority. Majority can go to hell. We'll be back.
WSKW, Legacy 1160.
Angus King is considering raising taxes on energy industries, which will eliminate American jobs, making us less competitive and hurting American families. With inflation at a 30-year high, raising taxes would only increase costs on everything we buy in Maine, including our energy. 3/5 of Mainers use fuel oil to heat our homes, a larger share than any other state. And those costs have nearly tripled in the past year alone. Angus King should take a stand for Maine's economy, jobs, and household budgets, and not let Washington policymakers increase taxes on natural gas at a time when we can least afford it. Call Senator King at 202-224-5344 and tell him no new taxes. Paid for by Coalition for American Jobs.
Have you ever thought about how Santa can fly around the world on Christmas Eve delivering gifts and no one gets to see him? Well, we've made special arrangements for the big man himself for Unity's annual Yuletide event. This year, Unity is going above and beyond for Yuletide. The first annual Festival of Trees runs December 2nd through December 5th at the Star in the West Masonic Lodge. The Parade of Lights, the Market of Unity, and the Christmas tree lighting by none other than St. Nick himself starts at 4:30 December 5th. Bundle up the kids and enjoy a safe, family-focused holiday time in Unity.
What's important here at Moody's is we have a lot of opportunity for upward mobility.
Moody's definitely helped me through. They sent me to school. I got my degree in business. I had the demeanor and I had the willpower and the want.
Our trade is constantly changing and there's always new challenges that arise.
I definitely feel like an owner. It's very exciting.
When you like what you do, you like your job, you like the people you work with, what else could you ask for?
Bring your skills to Moody's and build a long-term future with us.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Mostly sunny but windy and colder today. A few snow showers are possible in the mountains this morning. Temperatures will stay just in the low to mid 30s for today, but feeling colder with gusty northwesterly winds. Partly sunny, low to mid 30s Saturday and Sunday, with the chance for snow showers Saturday evening. More rain Monday, but back in the 50s.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Em Nguyen. The Labor Department's out with its November job report. The private sector adding a sluggish 230,000 jobs last month, below expectations. But the unemployment rate fell sharply to 4.2%. This as COVID-19 cases continue to rise. The Omicron variant's been detected in 5 states, including New York, where Governor Kathy Hochul said,
"We're not having shutdowns. We're not changing our protocols."
The Senate voted late Thursday to avoid a government shutdown, approving a short-term funding bill through mid-February. Prosecutors in Michigan announcing today whether they'll criminally charge the parents of a 15-year-old accused of opening fire in his high school Tuesday, killing 4 people and injuring several others. Police in Los Angeles said they arrested 14 people in a string of smash-and-grab robberies. Authorities say nearly $340,000 worth of merchandise was stolen. This is ABC News. In California, police say they have a suspect in the murder of the wife of music producer Clarence Avant.
Under arrest is a 29-year-old parolee who Beverly Hills police say broke into the Avant home early Wednesday morning and for some reason shot and killed Jacqueline Avant. His vehicle was seen driving away from the city, and then nearby, the LAPD caught the same man they say breaking into a home, and during that break-in, he shot himself in the foot with an AR-15. They realized the two were connected. Beverly Hills Police Chief Mark Stainbrook.
He has an extensive criminal record. He's on parole, and that's about all I'll say on that.
Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
In Cyprus today, Pope Francis conducted Holy Mass on the Eastern Mediterranean island. lamenting centuries of hostility and prejudice that divide Catholics and Greek Orthodox. The Pontiff, meeting with the Cypriot head of the Greek Church, pointed to works of charity as a way to help heal the rift. Wynn, ABC News.
I'm Serena Williams. You watch me live on TV.
And I'm the dad from that hilarious sitcom you watch on demand. Thanks to DirecTV Stream, our worlds have been brought together.
And there's a laugh track.
Oh, who, them? Yeah, well, they kind of just follow me everywhere.
Introducing DirecTV Stream, the best of live TV and on demand with no annual contract. Get your TV together at directv.com.
Requires high-speed internet and compatible device. Content varies by package and location. Restrictions apply.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up, there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell. And engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
Hola. Welcome back. Freedom's Pep Rally. Legacy 1160 WSKW. Streaming at legacy1160.com. Audio and video right now. Audio 24/7 brought to you by Harry J. Smith Company on Sanger Avenue in Waterville, and our app, which is audio. You can download that right now or anytime at the Apple Store or Google Play, brought to you by Hardy Wolf and Downing, Maine's injury attorneys. The video on all platforms, powered by Moody's Collision Centers. And Freedom's Pep Rally is proudly brought to you by the Gun Shop on Coney Circle in Augusta, Maine. I'm your friendly host, John James, with nothing but news and truth. Truth. Now, you can disagree with it. It's the truth. It's my truth. A lot of opinion here, too, by the way. But I think our opinions align a lot more than, people would think they do. Even people on the left. I mean, I think we could find some things to agree on. I think there are many leftists. Not leftists. No, leftist is a different animal. It's a leftist progressive. Somebody on the left, somebody who is moderate, somebody who's a critical thinker, is going to agree with a lot of what we say now, because they see what the other side is doing to the country, destroying it. One of the biggest disagreements that people have is on the issue of abortion. Now, I would never, that's one of the things I would stay away from in my former life as a radio DJ. But now, why? Why? Somebody's got to stand for the unborn, right? Well, I will, and I bet you will. According to a piece at Republic Brief, the right to an abortion here in this country appears to be on shaky ground. Wednesday, the Supreme Court heard arguments on the fate of Roe v. Wade, which is the 1973 decision that legalized abortion across the country. Now, at issue in Wednesday's case was Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, a Mississippi law that bans abortion after 15 weeks. Until now, all the court's abortion decisions have upheld Roe's central framework. What is that? Well, that women have a constitutional right, we'll get to this, constitutional right to an abortion in the first 2 trimesters when the fetus is unable to survive outside the womb, roughly between 22 and 24 weeks. But Mississippi asked the Supreme Court to reverse all of its prior abortion decisions and return the abortion question to the states. The three newest justices, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Barrett, all Trump justices, appeared to signal they are ready to side with Mississippi. It wasn't immediately clear if they would strike down Roe, as the state of Mississippi had asked, but we're moving in that direction now. The court's three justices are they're all much more conservative, although they haven't necessarily shown it in every judgment they put down since they've been in there, including Amy Coney Barrett. But they are part of the more conservative part of the court. Summarizing Mississippi's argument, Brett Kavanaugh said, "They say the Constitution doesn't give us the authority. We should leave it to the states, and we should be scrupulously neutral." Kavanaugh and Stephen Breyer clashed over the Supreme Court, over the role the court has in its own in overturning its own precedents, which is what it was, a precedent. Wednesday, they discussed this. According to WND.com, after listening to oral arguments Wednesday morning in the Mississippi abortion case, Judge Andrew Napolitano, he's the Fox News guy, he predicted Roe v. Wade will be overturned. Guys, I don't always agree with Napolitano, not by a long shot, but he's been a judge for a long time. He thinks it'll be overturned. A report from Fox News documents how Senator Jeanne Shaheen, a New Hampshire Democrat, is now issuing a warning to the justices. You might even call it a threat. Do you remember? You remember when Chuck Schumer stood on the courts of the stairs of the Supreme Court, saying, "I'm warning you, Kavanaugh. I'm warning you, Gorsuch. You will reap the whirlwind." You remember that? Whoa. Why wasn't everybody all over him? Where were the Republicans when he said that? Threatening Supreme Court justices. Now it would appear Jeanne Shaheen of our neighbor, New Hampshire, is doing the same thing. And the ruling is in danger of falling because in advance of scientific knowledge about pregnancy and birth, even its author of nearly 50 years ago admitted that personhood of the unborn should be established at an earlier time because children can survive outside the womb at a much earlier point in the gestational period. So here is a pro-baby killer. Sorry, I know that triggers some people, but for lack of a better way to put it, here is pro-baby killer Jeanne Shaheen and her not so subtle message about violence that could come to the Supreme Court justices if they decide they're going to overturn this. Listen, Shaheen.
This infringement on women's rights, on our privacy, on the attempt to have state control of our personal health, really is what we would see in an authoritarian state. It's not what we would expect in New Hampshire. I think if you want to see a revolution, go ahead, outlaw Roe v. Wade, and see what the response is of the public, particularly young people.
Wow. If you want to see a revolution, go ahead. Go ahead, outlaw Roe v. Wade. Well, okay, Ms. Shaheen. In a what kind of a regime did you say? An authoritarian regime? Would only an authoritarian regime would outlaw killing children? Are you insane? apparently. Here's more on the case. After 24 weeks now, a fetus is typically considered to be able to survive outside the womb. So the law deems it is no longer able to be aborted. The arguments for Jackson Women's Health Organization rested heavily on the idea that abortion is a question of right, liberty, and autonomy. And for those reasons, it must be upheld. But Clarence Thomas, I love Clarence Thomas, he questioned whether abortion is a constitutional right, and rightfully so. Julie Rickleman addressed the court on behalf of Jackson Women's Health Organization, which is the last abortion clinic in Mississippi, along with U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Preliger, who argued, quote, if this court renounces the liberty interests recognized in Roe and reaffirmed in Casey, it would be an unprecedented contraction of individual rights and a stark departure from principles of stare decisis. Stare decisis is it's a legal word for precedent. There is precedent, they argue, in Roe v. Wade. Overturning it would send the decision back to the states, where these decisions, I believe, and a lot of legal minds believe, is where it belongs. Thomas then immediately asked Preliger to clarify exactly what right was being argued for. So what's the right you speak of? General, would you specifically state what the right is? Is it specifically abortion? Is it liberty? Is it autonomy? Is it privacy? Thomas asked. Preliger answered that the right to abortion was on the basis of liberty found in the 14th Amendment, as well as autonomy and privacy. Thomas said in response, I understand we're talking about abortion here, but what is confusing is that if we were talking about the Second Amendment, I know exactly what we're talking about. If we're talking about the Fourth Amendment, I know what we're talking about because it's written. It's there. So what specifically is the right here that we're talking about? Thomas said. This guy's good. Mississippi State Solicitor General Scott Stewart, who represented for Dobbs, has already argued that Roe and Casey did not, in fact, have constitutional grounding. Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court, Roe versus Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey haunt our country. They have no basis in the Constitution, Stewart said. Of all the current Supreme Court justices, Justice Clarence Thomas has been on the court the longest. He took that seat in 1991. He was on the court for the Casey ruling in 1992, enjoining the opinion of previous Chief Justice William Rehnquist, saying Roe was wrongly decided and it should be overruled. Music to the ears of people who love life and regard human life, even the unborn, as precious and with constitutional rights. Wednesday, Justice Thomas made a very important clarification. Here's what he said. I'm going to leave it at this. He said, the choice to abort a baby is not, in and of itself, a constitutional right. But the Constitution does uphold the rights to liberty, and it promotes certain ideas of autonomy. So, does abortion fall under the constitutional umbrella of liberty, specifically laid out in the 14th Amendment? That's That's one of the things they'll be decided, one of the crucial things they will have to decide on. But I think we see the points that Clarence Thomas is trying to make. And so for all those doomsday people who said, we're going to overturn Wade. We can't put Kavanaugh. We can't put Amy Coney Barrett on the court. It's going to overturn Roe. Well, hopefully your worst nightmare is going to come true. And as a result, we may see future world leaders who can save America being born. Once the egg is fertilized, my opinion, once the egg is fertilized, well, it's not really my opinion. I believe it's divine opinion. Once the egg has been fertilized, trajectory has been set, and it's for no man or woman to decide to end the life. You know, this is even before what the most minimal of abortion laws says. This is upon fertilization. This is before the heartbeat. I just don't get it. I don't understand the heartbeat, Bill. If you can hear the heartbeat, you can't. Well, we don't agree with that. It doesn't. Right up till birth. That's what Governor Ralph Baby Killer Northam thought. Right up till birth and after birth. After the baby's born, you can decide to just let it be comfortable and die peacefully. Baby Killer Northam, who is a doctor himself, the blackface guy who hates guns, hates babies apparently. How can any man or woman mother maternal? Some women, I understand, don't have maternal instincts, don't want kids. That's fine. Don't have them. Just don't have them. It's fine. Nobody says you got to have kids. But even if you are the most adverse to having children, do you actually hate children? You clearly like sex, but do you hate children that much that you can actually go to an appointment where there's a sonogram and you can actually hear the of the little baby's heart, and you can go on from there and say, okay, go ahead and destroy it. Basically, what I'm asking is, how can you hear a heartbeat of another human being inside your body and be okay with paying money to destroy it? Planned Parenthood, I get that. That's their bread and butter right there. That's the food on their table. That's their yacht in the harbor. But you, a mother with a heart beating inside you. A lot of mothers who decide to have an abortion suffer greatly from depression, and there's suicide. There's a lot of stuff goes along. There's a lot of baggage that goes. That's something that Planned Parenthood won't talk about. Nobody who's pro-abortion will talk about that. They'll just say how great it is that we have that right to kill babies in the womb. But they won't talk about the after effects. But there are. And there are also some, and we've been through this. I went through a whole piece on it a couple of months ago. There are a whole lot of physical problems that can and often do occur, including the inability to conceive later in life. A couple of years, well, I'm not ready for it yet. I just wait for a few years, and then you can't conceive. Yeah, I know there's always adoption. I understand that. And I just can't for the life of me understand why. And then there are the women who use it, and I actually know of one. This is why I bring it up. There are women that use abortion as birth control, which don't even get me started on that. I know I'm not a woman. And also, I've got to tell you, I get very angry at guys who impregnate a woman and then leave. There's a lot of that goes around too. There's a lot of it that doesn't go around like that. There are a lot of men. A man's man will step up and be responsible. But there are plenty out there, I don't want anything to do with this. We had some fun, now I got to run. That's not a man. That is not a man. 10:23 now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Sorry, just a little, I'm just scrolling through stuff here. I want to talk to you about wokeness. There is wokeness coming to a country near you. Wokeness is in America, and wokeness is going to be the ruination of America. Wokeness is an extension of political correctness. In France, the government, along with many French citizens, are now pushing back against the bastardization of the French language as progressives push to include gender-neutral language into the lexicon, just like they're doing here in the United States. Oh, my pronouns are they, them. My pronouns are poo, pee, pa. My pronoun, and they do. They come up with these stupid words. Any word, you can make up any word. We've aired Twitter, TikTok account. People saying, oh, you make up your own pronoun. Zib, zob, zoob. Well, the French are getting pretty upset about this. Guess where they say the threat's coming from? Guess where they say the threat, the bastardization of the French language is coming from? Places like Canada and American universities. They know. The French know where it's coming from. What was once the freest country in the world and one of the most moral countries in the world is going down into the cesspool of immorality and dysfunction. How much more dysfunctional can you get than we are in America right now? And the French know it. So, the leftist progressives are responsible for all the division going on here, and not just here, but around the globe. Because what starts in one place spreads to another. Right? I mean, we see this all the time. We see this all the time when something happens in one country because we are now globalist. We're all connected. We're all under this big globalist umbrella, the Great Reset. What one does, the other does. Here's a report from France, and this report came from Newsmax, and it's very telling about what's going on in France and what their biggest worry is now.
Words in the most literal sense taking place right now in France. The Le Robert Dictionary adding the word il to its pages. It's a gender-neutral word meaning they that's becoming common in the LGBTQ community, and it's prompting backlash from some citizens and even lawmakers saying it's distorting the historically romantic language for modern times. Now, the inclusion of the pronoun comes as it's gaining popularity from more progressive users who applaud its combination of the words he and she and therefore avoid a gendered connotation when in conversation. But the French language follows structured masculine and feminine grammar rules, which is under attack by critics who say that it should be modernized in order to incorporate gender non-conforming individuals. But as I said, this decision is receiving backlash from members of parliament, all the way up to the Minister of Education, who says school-age children should not acknowledge this word as a valid entry in the dictionary. So this is only the latest debate surrounding so-called woke politics, to which we've seen an overt effort, actually, by the French government to avoid. Over the summer, you may remember that French President Emmanuel Macron criticized woke culture, saying it was dividing and racializing French society, and spoke out against the practice that he claims starts at U.S. universities. And this conversation was actually started long before that, with the French Prime Minister in 2017 banning the use of gender-neutral words in government documents. Now compare that approach to a country like Canada, where French is one of the official languages, which is encouraging lawmakers to use words such as they instead of he or she when drafting legislation. But the fear by French lawmakers is that this is just the beginning of doing away with cultural norms, something they believe could be an existential crisis to the long-held traditions in France.
Well, there you go. Sorry about the coughing there. I didn't turn my microphone off, apparently, and I coughed. You didn't hear it on the video stream, but you heard it on the radio. I apologize for that. So France is worried about their language becoming woke, and it is. I don't know if there's any stopping it. I really don't. I think that you have to choose your battles, of course. I think we've got bigger problems than bastardizing the language, but that's certainly part of it. It's all part of it. 10:29 right now. We'll be right back. I'm John James. This is Freedom's Pep Rally.
Legacy 1160 WSKW.
If you love to shop, whether it's for yourself or for others, you've got to visit Townline Antiques. With new items arriving nearly every day, you never know what treasure you may stumble upon. Whether it's vintage signs, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, books, comics, artwork, or classic electronics, you're always sure to find something that tickles your fancy. Plus, there's lots of great furniture, glassware, and household goods. And their vintage Christmas booth is now fully stocked with many wonderful items. If you're looking for ornaments, lights, stockings, figurines, or any other holiday decor, you've got to stop by and shop this dazzling selection. You'll also find Santas galore with dolls, pictures, ceramics, and more. Or how about a classic Christmas toy like a teddy bear or a truck? Townline Antiques is a great place to find that truly one-of-a-kind gift or treat yourself to a trip through some wonderful memories with a present for yourself. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
What's important here at Moody's is we have a lot of opportunity for upward mobility.
Moody's definitely helped me through. They sent me to school. I got my degree in business. I had the demeanor and I had the willpower and the want.
Our trade is constantly changing and there's always new challenges that arise.
I definitely feel like an owner. It's very exciting.
When you like what you do, you like your job, you like the people you work with, what else could you ask for?
Bring your skills to Moody's and build a long-term future with us.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Mostly sunny but windy and colder today. A few snow showers are possible in the mountains this morning. Temperatures will stay just in the low to mid 30s for today, but feeling colder with gusty northwesterly winds. Partly sunny, low to mid 30s Saturday and Sunday, with the chance for a snow shower Saturday evening. More rain Monday, but back in the 50s.
Thank you very much, Lexi O'Connor. John James here, your Freedom's Pep Rally host, brought to you by the Gun Shop on Coney Circle in Augusta. Time right now, 10:31. And I told you earlier that I would have something by Mark Levin if I had time for it. And I think I want to do this right now. Since we're talking about the destruction of America, I've told you over and over and over again that the biggest impetus of the destruction of America is coming from mainstream media, more specifically, certain players in the mainstream media. A couple of the players I have often pointed out are Chuck Todd of NBC News and MSNBC, Joy Reid of MSNBC. Joy Reid is a big one. The woman who sits there every night on her show talking about the insurrection of January 6th. By the way, later on this afternoon, I am going to do a special online piece about one of the new January 6th movies that's out. It's called Capital Punishment. And I'm going to play you a few clips that are not in the trailer. You're going to want to see. And you're going to want to see the movie. This is going to be a great weekend for you to watch this movie. And when you watch that movie, also look for Tucker Carlson's Patriot Purge. Watch them both. There was no insurrection. What you did not see, there's a guy named John Sullivan there. John Sullivan was instigating a lot of the crashing and the violence and the breaking of windows and doors. He's a BLM guy. He was there. There's video of him. There are video of Antifa and BLM marchers going into the bushes and putting on their Trump apparel, taking off their black masks, putting on their Trump MAGA stuff. This was not an insurrection. This was not there were no guns. There were no guns. Except for Robert Byrd, the guy that shot and killed Ashley Babbitt. Sadly, you get a view of that you haven't probably seen before. This Robert Byrd, who, by the way, Robert Byrd is, you go, Robert Byrd, it's all right. Same guy. Here's the same guy, Robert Byrd, who left his loaded Glock on a bathroom counter in the visitor center at the Capitol. Didn't get any crap for that. He pointed a loaded weapon with his finger on the trigger at somebody. Never got crap for that. He killed Ashley Babbitt in cold blood when there was no sign of any threat. There was no warning called out, according to witnesses. And you could see on the video, he didn't say anything. He pulled his gun up, he fired, she dropped. They are trying to start a war. They are literally, the left is trying to start a war. So all Joy Reid can do on her show is talk about what a terrible, terrible event happened on January 6th, completely forgetting about everything that happened with BLM, Antifa, and all of the raging white supremacists. They aren't white supremacists. They aren't the Proud Boys. No, they are white virtue signaling. We're going to stand with BLM, tearing down statues, occupying cities. These are Joy Reid's people. These are her people. But those evil patriots, did you see that? No, you didn't. You didn't. You've got to watch these movies. Again, I'll have a special on later on this afternoon, video platforms only. And you'll be able to see some scenes from Capital Punishment that you haven't seen. That's the Nick Searcy movie that's available to you right now, just $10. And you own it. And it's a must-see, as is Patriot Purge by Tucker Carlson. They're both excellent, excellent videos. Okay, so now let's get to the great one, Mark Levin. He does a show called Life, Liberty, and Levin on Fox News. Most people probably know that. He did a piece on focusing primarily on Joy, the raging racist Reid, who is a pant load. Okay, can I say that on the radio? She is a pant load. She is a brainless, full of hot air, angry black woman. And you'll see, sadly, you're going to get to see a few clips if you're watching on video, and you're going to get to hear her if you're listening on audio. But Mark Levin does a great piece here. This is going to run over 9 minutes, but it's every bit of it is worth seeing, and it's a little bit edited, but you get the gist of the whole thing.
No, first it was the systemically racist police. Now it's the systemically racist judges and the systemically racist juries and the systemically racist justice system. Yeah, right. But the felon, no. All right, let's check it out. This is Joy Reid. Oh, and Al Sharpton. Oh, I can't wait. This is MSNBC. Puts these people on, gives them a platform. This is them the other day. Go.
This is what we expected to happen. Because I think we have to keep in mind when we're watching the criminal justice system at work that it was designed to do exactly what it did today. Gun laws helped to enhance the design to allow this verdict to happen today.
Wait. The right to bear arms goes back thousands of years before this country was ever in anybody's mind. That is the right to defend yourself. People have a right to protect their lives, to protect their physical being, to protect their families, to protect their homes. This is instinctive. This is part of the human DNA. It's also part of the animal DNA. So it's not that the Second Amendment was created to allow this sort of white supremacist jury and so on, whatever she's got going on in her sponge for her brain. No, one doesn't follow the other. One didn't follow the other. The reason we have a Bill of Rights is to protect us, these rights that we have as human beings from government. Go ahead.
This country was built on the idea that white men had a particular kind of freedom and a particular kind of citizenship that only they have.
What does that mean? Is that what the Declaration of Independence says? You know, I think Joy Reid's parents were immigrants into this country, something like that. Maybe it was her grandparents. They came into this country, I assume, voluntarily. Her family never experienced any of this. Her family has only experienced great things in this country. She is a very wealthy woman. She gets in front of a TV camera. In this case, she's at home in front of her whatever. They go into these studios, all these hosts. They get makeup. They're treated like kings and queens. Maybe they'll have a donut or a bagel or some grapes before they go on the stage, and then they speak into the camera. They pat themselves on the head. Then they have drivers and vehicles that drive them home to their apartments or to their homes, and they're down for the revolution. But where she's not is in the streets, where she and others are lighting fuses for animosity, for jealousy, for hate, for bigotry, for racism. It's now being pushed in the media. And there was a study done by a gentleman by the name of Goldberg, who was getting a PhD at the Heritage Foundation, and it's in American Marxism. And he shows that in a period of a year or two, and he uses as examples the New York Times and the Washington Post, their references to racism, to white supremacy, and those sorts of things jumped up 1,500% in the Washington Post and 1,200% in the New York Times in the last couple of years. And this phrase, white supremacy, now is sort of an ambiguous, generic phrase. We used to know what it meant. It meant these clowns running around in white sheets, or the neo-Nazis, and that is real racists, real black haters or Hispanic haters. Now they mean the entire white majority society. And people are supposed to just sit back and take it and not comment and just shake their head. Well, you're right. What an awful society we have. She says this system was set up, this legal system, for white people. Now, let me ask you something. If the whole system was set up for the white person, why was Kyle Rittenhouse charged in the first place? It was set up for the white person. Well, that's a lie, and she knows it's a lie, but it doesn't matter. She's an activist. She's a Marxist. She's a racist. She's a bigot. The idea that Comcast would allow her to have a primetime show 5 days a week, 7 p.m. Eastern time, despite what they found on her social media and her lies to try and cover it up, that somebody hacked into her social media and put these horrendous things about gays and Jews and other things on there. But look, she's there. They have Sharpton as a part-time or weekend host. And so they spew these things. This is what I meant when I started the program. The Democrat Party and their media, they're destroying this country. They're destroying belief in this country, inspiration for this country, the next generation. That's why they basically supported all the violent rioting 2 summers ago and covered it up as mostly peaceful and so forth. That's why in certain cases they censor, like they did in the Rittenhouse closing statement by his lawyers while playing the prosecutor's closing statements. That's why you have people like Jaylene Rose at a basketball game on ESPN standing next to Stephen A. Smith, going on about how Blake was murdered, how Blake was murdered by the cops, and this is just another example of what goes on at Kenosha. I think he thought two of the people who were killed were black. Well, of course, Blake wasn't murdered. Blake had just molested his ex-wife or girlfriend. She called 911. The cops come. They tell him to put up his arms. They want to take him into custody. He keeps walking around his car. You've seen the video, right? He has a knife. He reaches in his car. He gets a knife. They tase him. It doesn't do much. And then he becomes incredibly violent, and they shoot him. So he wasn't killed. The cops were not charged with a damn thing. He had attacked his ex-wife or girlfriend. And this is the problem. Another ex-felon. And so the Democrat Party and the racists and the CRT advocates will defend people like this, despite the fact that 5 minutes earlier he was abusing a woman, a black woman. And you look at this guy, Rosenbaum, who Kyle Rittenhouse shot. Multiple domestic abuse convictions, multiple felonies, rape of little girls in the most horrendous way. Look at this guy, Huber, multiple domestic violence charges. You look at this other guy, what was his name? Goose Craphead, whatever his name is. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Another one with felony records. Violent. Nobody ever says, why were they in Kenosha that night? They had to know people were going to be rioting. So what the common thread here isn't race. The common thread here is these are criminals. These are criminals. But the Democrat Party relies on felons as part of its base. It wants to expand it. And so comes to their defense. Go.
You know, from the slave catchers on, the right to inflict violence in the name of protecting property. That's
wait. From the slave catchers on. I have no idea which, the right to protect property. Let me ask you a question. It appears to me that Joy Reid is living in a home or an apartment there. What if somebody breaks in? Do you have a right to shoot them? To protect property? I think you do, because you don't know what those people are going to do. This right to protect property is not just with the white man or the white woman. This right to protect property you'll find on every continent on the face of the earth. You see what's been going on in San Francisco and Chicago, how stores are being broken into and broken down, and how they're leaving, how they're being looted and losing money. You see that CVS and Walgreens are leaving cities because prosecutors say a certain amount of theft is okay by them, and the cops can't get there fast enough, or there aren't enough cops. That's what property rights are all about. And as I said the other day, what are property rights? You break your back earning a living. Maybe you spent 30, 40 years and you're retired now, or maybe you're in the middle of building a career, and having a family and earning money and so forth. That's private property. That money, whether it's in a bank account, whether it's in a home, whether it's in an automobile, whether it's in investments on things that you happen to like, stamps or coin, whatever it is, that is your hard-earned labor. If somebody steals your property, they're stealing your labor, your physical and intellectual labor. They're stealing a part of you. And white people, by the way, I hate to tell, have a right to defend their property, as do black people and all other people. But listen to how she theorizes. Listen to how her perverse, unhinged mind functions. Go.
The foundational creation of the United States. So it would have been shocking. The real, as I'm glad you mentioned the Derek Chauvin verdict, that was the surprising verdict. This should have been unsurprising. But what I do think we have to think...
Should have been unsurprising? Unsurprising to her would have been if Kyle Rittenhouse was found guilty defending himself. I'm telling you, this Marxism is a horrific poison. It is so bizarre. Go ahead.
It's not only the families of the two men...
Shut up. I've had enough of you.
I love that. Shut up. I've had enough of you. I feel like saying that every time I see Joy Reid. One of the most dangerous people on television. All she ever does is rage. That's all she does is rage. And she's racist. That's why I call her Raging Racist Reid, because that name fits her to a T. 1047 right now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. E. Everett Bartlett coming up at 11 o'clock. We're going to be talking about domestic abuse and how it doesn't recognize any parameters, socioeconomic, man, woman. And he's created an organization, and we'll talk with him about that at 11 o'clock. Again, his name is E. Everett Bartlett, and he'll be coming up with us in just a little while here on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Well, Robert Malone, you heard of this guy? Robert Malone he's a researcher. He's a doctor, Dr. Robert Malone. He actually created the idea of using mRNA as a vaccine. Now, he says he didn't invent messenger RNA, that it's natural. But he did come up with the idea of using it as a treatment. Now, from California, Malone has always considered himself center-left, but he doesn't like where the government is taking us with these vaccine mandates. Listen to this. He did an interview with WND.com, and if you want to hear the whole interview, you can pick up the link at legacy1160.com/FPR, as in Freedom's Pep Rally, legacy1160.com/FPR. A lot of great resources there for you, too, by the way. In the interview, he said, "I'm pretty sure what I'm seeing is a major political realignment starting to grow in the United States and really worldwide. And it's like a wake-up call." He's had an epiphany. This is called the Great Reset. He said, "It's about the rights of the individual and the fundamental freedom of speech upon which the nation was founded. This is scrambling politics," he said, talking about the pandemic, predicting while acknowledging such prognostications are outside of his core competency as a doctor, a major sea change in the 2022 midterms is probably going to happen. He said the reason he's speaking out in spite of the considerable personal risks is simple. And this is risky for him. I mean, he's a respected doctor and a scientist. And here's what he said. He said, "It's because I'm bloody well pissed off. It's not right. It's not fair. It's hurting people. It's breaking the rules left and right. People are lying continuously. They're manipulating the data. It's shocking." He believes the consequences will be fundamental, with a damaged hospital and medical care delivery system and a loss of faith in government. Well, I think we're seeing that in real time right now as we speak on this Friday. The insertion of government in the affairs of the family with lockdowns, school shutdowns, and the vaccine and mask mandates is causing damage that is deep and profound and will last for decades. Dr. Robert Malone. He says evil can sometimes be intentional and sometimes it's unintentional, but right now what we're seeing happening with our children is fundamentally evil. It's just a question, in my mind, to what extent it's been intentional. And I hope it hasn't been. But I think you know the answer to that, don't you? It most certainly has been intentional. Again, the whole story, you want to hear the interview, get the link right at the top of the page at Legacy 1160 WSK. I'm sorry, I throw the call letters in there as a force of habit. Legacy1160.com/FPR. 1051 right now on Legacy 1160. Climate. Well, let's talk climate. We haven't talked climate for a while. Steve Malloy of Junk Science was on One America News recently, and he was talking about the devastation that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are bringing to our infrastructure. And he's concerned about what is going on with his complete destruction of our energy independence. While America needs oil just to compete, Joe Biden has taken it away from us in large part because of the junk science of climate change. He knows it. Janet Mills knows it. They know they're lying. They know, well, maybe Janet Mills doesn't. She probably is a Kool-Aid drinker. I picture Janet Mills as a Kool-Aid drinker. I don't picture her as much of a leader. She's more of a follower, following along in Joe's footsteps or Dr. Shah's footsteps. Whatever you say, oh leader. So now not only is Joe Biden asking OPEC to produce more oil, he's tapping into our strategic reserves, which won't amount to much at all, will not amount to much at all. Now, on Tipping Point with Kara McKinney on OAN, McKinney said, it looks like Saudi Arabia and Russia are about to pull a fast one on Biden. And she asked Stephen Malloy, what is your take on this? Here is Stephen Malloy.
I mean, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, this is a mess that Biden alone has got us into. Trump had us at a point where we were not only energy independent, but energy dominant. We controlled the global oil supply so much with our fracking capabilities that at the beginning of COVID, the price of oil actually went negative for a little while. But of course, Biden has conducted a war on the oil and gas industry since he became president. He has stifled oil production in America. And because of that, oil prices are through the roof. We also have a failure of green policies in Europe, which has caused another sort of energy crisis. And so energy prices just all the way around are through the roof. His solution is to release 50 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, 18 million of which were already planned to be released. So it's really only 32 million new barrels he's announced. That's about a day and a half worth of U.S. oil consumption. That's about a third of what the world consumes in a single day. It's going to make absolutely no difference. It will probably only raise prices just because, our people, as you point out, OPEC, Russia, Saudi Arabia, they're going to see how vulnerable we are. And they know that we need oil. There's nothing that happens in our society without oil. So of course they're going to take advantage of it. All Joe Biden would need to do would be just to announce that he was going to, let turn our frackers loose again, like Trump did. And the price of oil would collapse once, but he won't do that because his administration's goal is to destroy fossil fuels, to break our economy with higher gas prices. And, Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm just laughs about it.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh, my God. That is hilarious.
Wow. She doesn't have anything to worry about. Oh, she's making bank working with Biden. Are you kidding me? Jennifer Graham. Oh, $10 a gallon gas. Just change in my purse. This is a freak show. Biden has a freak show. People are sounding the alarm, though. You're mad. I'm mad, right? Peter, yes, she is a loser. Climate change, right. Judy says, all countries need to follow in the process. Oil from other countries. Who will inspect these countries? China's not going to have to follow the rules. They've already been given a pass. China's being told, don't worry, Paris Climate Accord. Don't even worry about it. Oh, and speaking of the Paris Climate Accord, which demands, apparently, according to Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, I hate oil, I hate fossil fuels, but I love my mansions, I love my beach house, I love it all, I love the money. But don't you give those people cheap gas anymore. So you got Bernie Sanders and you've got Joe Biden out there praising the Paris Climate Accord, which demands apparently that the United States destroy itself while China keeps chugging along for at least 10 years. And by the way, they're never going to comply. They will never comply. They're being given a complete pass by the Biden administration because Joe and Hunter are still making money off Xi Jinping. Don't you doubt for a minute that's happening. Read the book. Read the book about the laptop from hell, Miranda Devine of the New York Post. It's amazing. It's amazing what you will learn. Oh, I don't want to read that book. It might make me think less of the Bidens. The Bidens are a great American family. The Bidens are a corrupt bunch of losers. It is, but speaking of the Paris Climate Accord, they're now talking about getting a global, you ready for this? Pandemic accord. So lockdowns and everything from now on, if they do this, and they're talking about it, the World Health Organization would be the impetus. The communist organization, Joe rejoined as soon as he took the desk, he rejoined the WHO. So what do they want to do? They want to make a world pandemic accord. So if the WHO says we need lockdowns, no longer will the states or the government in this country be able to decide against the lockdowns. It's going to be run by the communists. This is the Paris Climate Accord. Communists. China. The pandemic accord, if it comes, and it likely will, communists. We will literally be under communist rule from two different organizations, the Paris Accord and the Pandemic Accord. Little by little by little, and some people don't even see it. Oh, that's wonderful. The World Pandemic Accord. I can see Janet Mills now. Oh, tomorrow's going to be a brighter day thanks to the World Pandemic Accord. This is insanity. Look it up. Look it up. Pandemic Accord. I will find a link. I will post it for you. We'll be right back. I'm John James. This is Freedom's Pep Rally.
WSKW, Legacy 1160.
Angus King is considering raising taxes on energy industries, which will eliminate American jobs, making us less competitive and hurting American families. With inflation at a 30-year high, raising taxes would only increase costs on everything we buy in Maine, including our energy. 3/5 of Mainers use fuel oil to heat our homes, a larger share than any other state. And those costs have nearly tripled in the past year alone. Angus King should take a stand for Maine's economy, jobs, and household budgets, and not let Washington policymakers increase taxes on natural gas at a time when we can least afford it. Call Senator King at 202-224-5344 and tell him no new taxes. Paid for by Coalition for American Jobs.
If you love to shoot guns or just like to keep those skills up to par, you just need to put some rounds down range. At Economy Guns and Indoor Range at 81 Main Street, Madison, you can. No matter the weather, no matter the day. Beautiful, well-ventilated indoor range downstairs, a gun shop upstairs. One stop does it all. Forgot to bring targets? No worries. They've got those too. And when you go in, make sure you say hi to Rosie. Economy Guns and Indoor Range on Main Street, Madison. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5. Sunday, 10 to 2.
What's important here at Moody's is we have a lot of opportunity for upward mobility.
Moody's definitely helped me through. They sent me to school. I got my degree in business. I had the demeanor and I had the willpower and the want.
Our trade is constantly changing and there's always new challenges that arise.
I definitely feel like an owner. It's very exciting.
When you like what you do, you like your job, you like the people you work with, what else could you ask for?
Bring your skills to Moody's and build a long-term future
with us.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Mostly sunny but windy and colder today. A few snow showers are possible in the mountains this morning. Temperatures will stay just in the low to mid 30s for today, but feeling colder with gusty northwesterly winds. Partly sunny, low to mid 30s Saturday and Sunday, with the chance for snow showers Saturday evening. More rain Monday, but back in the 50s.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160. Legacy 1160, WSKW.
If you love to shop, whether it's for yourself or for others, you've got to visit Town Line Antiques. With new items arriving nearly every day, you never know what treasure you may stumble upon. Whether it's vintage signs, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, books, comics, artwork, or classic electronics, you're always sure to find something that tickles your fancy. Plus, there's a lot of great furniture, glassware, and household goods. And their vintage Christmas booth is now fully stocked with many wonderful items. If you're looking for ornaments, lights, stockings, figurines, or any other holiday decor, you've got to stop by to shop this dazzling selection. You'll also find Santas galore with dolls, pictures, ceramics, and more. Or how about a classic Christmas toy, like a teddy bear or a truck? Townline Antiques is a great place to find that truly one-of-a-kind gift, or treat yourself to a trip through some wonderful memories with a present for yourself. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
ABC News, I'm Jim Ryan. The November jobs report fell far short of expectations. The private sector added 210,000 jobs during the month. Analysts predicted north of 500,000. At the same time, the unemployment rate did fall to 4.2%. J.J. Kinahan, the chief market strategist for TD Ameritrade, says that appears contradictory.
As you look at the report, you're trying to say which one of these numbers doesn't add up. So I hate to say it as the report just came out, but I'm already thinking forward to what are the revisions going to look like on this report.
President Biden discusses the report this morning. Thursday, he called for more COVID-19 vaccinations and boosters as the Delta variant continues to ravage the country. Honda is recalling almost 723,000 SUVs and pickups because the hood can open while the vehicle is in motion. The recall covers certain 2019 passports, 2016 through 2019 pilots, and the Ridgeline pickup in the 2017 through 2020 model year. This is ABC News. 2 Georgia election workers are suing a website over unfounded claims of fraud in the 2020 election. They say the Gateway Pundit singled them out by name, exposing them to threats and intimidation. A student is dead after a knife-wielding suspect wandered through Upper Manhattan.
A reputed gang member out on parole is believed to have fatally stabbed a 30-year-old Columbia student near Morningside Park, and then about 15 minutes later, an Italian tourist who is expected to survive. This Columbia student said it's cause for alarm and vigilance.
It is shocking news, but it is a problem specific to this area, I guess.
The same suspect is also believed to have menaced a man in Central Park when police officers responded and took the man into custody. He was carrying a large kitchen knife. Aaron Katursky, ABC News, New York.
New CDC figures show nearly 1 in 40 children is affected by autism. That's more than in previous studies. Researchers say the increase is due mainly to earlier diagnosis, which means many autistic kids are now getting help faster. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Hey, yeah, how's it going?
Word of mouth has Dante's dental clinic thriving.
17 new patients? Nice. Is this next month's calendar?
But he needs another dentist to give his schedule a good cleaning.
This is this week? You're kidding. Oh, you're not.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Trade pros. Whether you specialize in service or new construction, Ferguson knows firsthand how much work goes into a long day on the job, which is why we're committed to offering the products and solutions to get every job done right. With over 1,000 locations, an unmatched selection of specialty products, tools, and supplies, our pro pickup and same or next day delivery, you can trust that doing business with Ferguson will be the easiest part of your hard day's work. Visit Ferguson.com to find a counter location near you.
Hello there. Welcome back. Freedom's Pep Rally is on your radio. And we have a guest this hour. A guest. Wait a minute. Let me position for people watching video. Sometimes I block my face. Well, probably a good thing. I block my face off with a microphone. I like to be looking at you here. We have Edward Bartlett on the phone this morning with us. What part of the country are you calling from this morning, Edward?
In the great state of Maryland, right outside of the nation's capital.
Oh, no kidding. Now, can you hear me okay right now?
Barely.
Barely. Is that a little bit better?
About the same, barely.
All right. Well, hopefully you can hear me good enough. I try to find a happy medium here, and
okay.
Hopefully I've found it. There, I can do that. Yeah, we talk. You're the second guy from Maryland we've talked to this week. Now, we're going to be talking to you about something: domestic violence and the United Nations, and we're going to conflate this. And why don't you give us a little background on the domestic violence big lie?
Yeah, well, sure, John. So fundamentally, I mean, of course, domestic violence is a concern, is a problem. But unfortunately, the groups that we call the gender warriors have taken this issue and they've politicized it, they've weaponized it, and they've entirely misrepresented the nature of the problem. And I say that because actually there are more male victims of domestic violence in the United States than female victims. I can give you the numbers if you want.
Really?
But and that's according to the Centers for Disease Control. This is not some one-off survey. This is a national respected survey found each year there's 4.2 million male victims compared to 3.5 million female victims of physical domestic violence. Why is it that we never hear that fact?
That's interesting. Now, I had always assumed that, and we talked with a woman a couple of weeks ago who talked about the little talked about issue of domestic violence upon males. Now, when you define domestic violence on males, does it necessarily mean physical domestic violence? And if so, how? This is new to me. I'll be honest with you, Edward.
Yeah. So John, physical domestic violence ranges from anything like, throwing a pillow or a coffee cup at your partner, all the way to pulling out a gun and shooting them. Actually, just very recently here in Maryland, there was a case in Baltimore where a woman drove her car over her husband and killed him. That was just 2 weeks ago in Baltimore. So, we're not talking about sort of an innocuous slap on the face here. We're talking about some serious crimes.
Now, when you say, it can be something like somebody throwing a pillow at you, I mean that, I don't know as, unless it had a brick in it, I don't know as I'd consider that domestic violence. But I would imagine that probably when domestic violence is committed against males, it is more likely to be with something like a gun or an automobile or some kind of a blunt object or maybe a knife, huh?
It could be any of the above, and maybe the throwing the pillow was not the best example, but here's a much better example. You go to the movies, you often see a woman slapping her boyfriend on the face, right? Well, hey, let's be honest. That is domestic violence. That is a form of physical aggression. Ladies, you're not supposed to slap your boyfriend on the face unless you want to face legal consequences.
Now, are you talking about seeing it in the movies?
Well, I'm saying it happens in real life as well.
Yeah.
But it's often viewed, it's not viewed as domestic violence. It's just viewed as maybe even humorous. I've seen movies where a woman slaps the guy and people laugh.
Yeah, well, right. Okay, I do get that. I don't see that in public very often, but you're saying it does happen more often than we know.
Exactly. And
okay.
I mean, domestic violence is usually happens behind closed doors. There's no third party witness. But again, going back to this CDC survey, they actually do a telephone survey of a cross section of the whole country, and they ask people, male, female, have you experienced any form of, your partner throwing an object at you, threatening with you an object, using a weapon against you? Those are the questions that are asked, and again, the numbers are stunning, showing that there are far more male victims than female victims of physical domestic violence. You asked about the definition, and that's part of call it the slippery slope, is that there are now some groups saying, well, hey, what about psychological aggression?
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, and that definitely occurs.
Yep.
Sometimes it's called coercive control, and the Centers for Disease Control tracks that as well. And let me give you the exact numbers. Again, according to the CDC, each year there are 17 million men who are victims of psychological abuse, compared to only 13 million women victims of psychological abuse. In other words, we used to call this nagging, right?
Okay,
we don't use that word anymore.
Nagging, yeah.
But,
yeah.
Again, it's men who are far more likely to be victims of coercive control than women.
Okay, but when it comes to a dangerous, life-threatening domestic abuse, do those numbers tend to flip-flop a little bit? Because and I've worked for many years helping abused women's projects, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that exists. And we've seen it play out literally in the streets. People, shooting their wives or girlfriends, and sometimes even the children are part of sadly part of the abuse. But is the violent abuse more toward women?
So good question, John. So when you get to the severe levels of domestic violence, it's even Steven. Again, it's approximately equal numbers of men who are victims compared to women. But now that's sort of getting into the issue of false allegations. And I don't know if you recall, but not far from where you're located, just down the road, there was a prosecutor named Mary Kellett, Kellett, and she got involved in a case with a woman who had a former arrest record and also was known to be an abuser of her two children, but she accused her husband of marital rape. Well, my organization actually got involved in this case because the facts were so utterly implausible, and we actually filed an ethics complaint against Mary Kellett. This is all in the internet; anybody can search it. And ultimately, the Maine Supreme Court issued a ruling against prosecutor Mary Kellett for facilitating and enabling the false allegation of marital rape.
Really interesting. I hadn't heard of that. I excuse me. I certainly will look it up. Now, you're the founder of the Coalition to End Domestic Violence, and
that's correct.
And how does your organization work? Obviously, you try to get the information out there about the abuse that goes on toward men as well as women. Also, I think men are a little more embarrassed. They're going to be a little bit more embarrassed to report things like this.
Well, that is very true. So the Coalition to End Domestic Violence, we are a policy organization. We don't have a hotline, or we don't offer direct counseling. We're a policy group. So we meet with lawmakers and staffers both at the state level and federal level, and say, hey, these policies are not working, and we explain, and everything we say, we provide the actual government surveys or scientific evidence. So we're very evidence-based in what we say.
Okay, now, do you have a website we can go to get more information?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you the address. It's www.end2 as in TO, DV as in domestic violence.org. And I'll say that again. www.end2dv.org. Okay. We have lots of information there.
Yeah, now this is very interesting, and I'm going to get it up for those watching on video. I'm going to get it up here on the screen very quickly. end2dv.com. .org. I'm sorry. Yeah, I knew that. And okay, and so that is there on the screen. And so people can check it out. And does it give people resources in order to, address their own problems they may be having in their own lives?
Yes, absolutely, John. So if you scroll to the bottom of that homepage,
yep,
you'll see information for persons who are being abused and for persons who have been falsely accused.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, how does the United Nations come into play here?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. So let's call them misrepresentations. That's probably a very understated word, but the misrepresentations about domestic violence happen not just in Maine or the United States; they're happening around the world. And so there's an office at the United Nations. It's called UN Women. Again, UN Women.
UN Women, okay.
And they claim that they are working for gender equality. Well, so they have taken this domestic violence issue, and like I said earlier, they politicized it, they've misrepresented it, and now they are weaponizing the issue to only claim that only men are the perpetrators and women are the victims. And there've been literally hundreds of studies, and this is all on our website. There've been hundreds of studies showing this is an equal opportunity problem. So why is the United Nations so badly misrepresenting an issue that's been so thoroughly researched?
Well, I don't have much respect for the United Nations anyway, so this isn't really surprising to me and shouldn't be to anybody because of their agenda is really out of line with, what we in the United States generally believe. They're more of a globalist organization, I think, and some segments of the world, abuse against women is not frowned upon. If the woman is committing adultery or not doing what she is supposed to do, not servicing her husband, as you know. So the whole globalist agenda really eludes me why we even pay any attention to anything the United Nations does. But how does what the United Nations does affect what happens insofar as domestic violence is concerned in America?
Well, John, so much of this issue is driven not by the facts or not driven by the truth. It's driven by a narrative.
Right.
And when that narrative is repeated frequently enough, people stop looking at the facts. People, are not even aware of the CDC surveys. They just think of that image of the muscular man hovering over his wife who's cowering in the corner.
Right.
That's the image that's implanted in most people's minds. That's the narrative.
Yeah.
So this this campaign is designed to, expand that narrative and, create more laws that will unfairly treat men and ignore the fact that what happens when a woman is physically abusive with her spouse.
Yeah. Well, I think, as I said before, I'm I'm thinking, and this is just, I've heard some data on it, but I think it's probably way underreported just because of the stigma that is attached. And I talked about this with a guest that I had on, a female psychologist a couple of weeks ago. It is sort of a stigma attached to a man saying, my wife has been hurting me, or my girlfriend has been hurting me. And I think a lot of men would just sooner turn tail and run away from the relationship or the situation, in the event of a boyfriend-girlfriend, maybe not so easy with a marriage and kids. But I bet a lot of it is underreported. So I'm not saying I in any way doubt the stats, because you have the statistics, but I think a lot of it is just underreported and nobody wants to talk about it because, and so often when a woman's abused, there are children involved. And maybe the same with men too. It's just the way we've been taught to think, the way we've been trained to think, Edward. This is a very interesting study. It's a very interesting thing to look at and to learn more about. And I want to, by all means, because as I said, I've spent the better part of my radio career, not every moment, but helping women's organizations, the Abused Women's Advocacy Project, Sexual Assault Crisis and Support Center, which will support any gender, but most typically it's women. And we have the Family Violence Project, which again will support anybody, but typically it's women. And there's got to be a reason for that. And if it's not underreporting, then it would have to be that women are more often abused. But you say that's not true. So I guess to say I'm a little confused is an understatement, but I do want to look into this more.
Well, certainly, and I mentioned earlier about the Mary Kellett situation down the road from you, and in that particular case, the man actually did call the police for help, right?
Yep.
Because remember, she was the one who was abusing the kids and abusing him. He called the police for help. Guess who was arrested?
Oh, probably him.
He was the one who was arrested, and Mary Kellett was part of the reason for that false arrest.
Wow.
So you can see how the system has been, systematically biased.
Yeah.
To discourage men from reaching out for help. So you're right. There is a sense of, call it, embarrassment of men to acknowledge that they are being abused. But it really does happen in Maine and everywhere else. So, I mean, fundamentally, we all believe in equal treatment before the law.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And we're just seeing so many instances where that's not happening in the area of domestic violence.
Now, here's a question for you. Maybe you don't know the answer to this. This may not even have been studied. But if a woman attacks a man to hurt a man, is a man more likely to cower, or is he more likely to physically fight back? Which would sort of make reporting it a wash, because, if they're both committing domestic violence, nobody's going to want to report it.
Right. I think, if we're talking about sort of a severe attack, like with fists.
Right.
I think the most common responses of men is to restrain the attack. In other words, put his hands up, fend off the fists, and even grab her wrists or grab her forearm so she can't hit him. But again, that's been turned around so that the woman, shows, oh, well, look, I have bruises on my wrist. How do you think that happened, officer? And so again, the man himself, who is only trying to defend himself, finds himself being cast as a suspect in a domestic violence incident.
Interesting. This is all very interesting. It's very sad. Whoever occurs against it's a very sad situation because it means a family is in distress, and you always hate to see that, especially where kids are involved. Judy says some women push a man into hitting her. Then she presses charges against him for physical abuse.
Right.
So,
and John, it's helpful to understand there is an ideology behind all of this. This is not this did not happen by accident. There's an ideology that's pushing this, and this is an ideology that claims that domestic violence is a result of men's need for patriarchal control, right?
Yeah.
And so, once you introduce the word patriarchal or patriarchy, right there you're casting the man as the as the instigator and the abuser, and the woman as the victim.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is the broader the broader agenda, the broader narrative, and so the gender warriors see this as this is how I'm going to topple the patriarchy, is if we get even more stringent domestic violence laws that will throw more men in jail.
Yeah. Well, the Warriors, as you know, Edward, the Warriors always take a side. It can never be equally distributed or even distributed at all. It's always one sector's problem. One sector is the problem. The other sector is the victim. We see that now and case in point, critical race theory. The white man and white woman, they are the oppressors, and the black people are the oppressed. So it's when you're talking warriors, there is no winning. It's one side, you take their side, or you're completely wrong. And you make some good points. You really do.
Right.
And
this can all be traced back to the Marxist philosophy. Critical race theory you mentioned can be traced back to Marxist ideology.
Right.
But I don't know if you've heard, there's a term called critical feminism.
I have not heard that.
It's exactly the same concept, except it's not whites oppressing blacks. It's men oppressing females.
Yeah.
But it's a Marxist ideology.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a destructive ideology.
Yeah. All men are misogynists. Just like all white people are racist white supremacists. Unless they're we could go on all day on this, but you make some good points and you bring up some critical feminism. I'd never heard of that one, but I definitely will look into that. I know exactly what you mean by it. There's no debating that. I just never heard the term before. So I would encourage anybody. The website is or was on the screen. It will be back there. It is end2dv as in domestic violence.org. end2dv.org. And we have Edward Bartlett on the phone, and you are and do you have is there a website for your organization as well, or is this it? Coalition. This is basically the Coalition to End Domestic Violence website, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and looking at it, looks like you got a lot of resources here.
So we're we put a lot of work into it.
Yep.
So, and we have reports and advice, for people who are abused and more, a lot more.
So I'd say men and women can learn from this. And, if it's a stigma for men to report abuse, perhaps it's time to put that aside. The one thing I like about today's society, Edward, and you may or may not agree with me, I think you might, though, just in talking with you, I like the fact that these stigmas are really sort of going away. I mean, we never used to talk about mental health, but now, we do. I tell people I've suffered depression for years. I'm on medication. I wouldn't have done that 30 years ago. So now it's out there. So now we're talking about it, which is a good thing. and it's not a stigma. So maybe if this still is a stigma, maybe guys should just say, this is a reality of life. If you're being abused, accept it, report it. Don't shy away from it.
Right. And part of our recommendations, John, are to, we right now the domestic violence system, is focused almost entirely on arrest, prosecute, and incarcerate. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about, somebody attempting to shoot their wife or their husband with a gun, yes, you need to do that. But the majority of domestic violence cases are not in that category at all, and actually many of them are mutual abuse. She slaps the guy on the face and he shoves her back.
Yeah.
Do we really want to arrest and prosecute both of them for a shove and a slap?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. It defies rationality. So we are advocates, strong advocates, for taking a more of a mental health approach to these, less severe cases. You may have heard the term restorative justice.
Yeah.
Or just couples counseling. I mean, there are so many ways to approach this problem in a way that does not, throw people in jail and give them a criminal record.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I mean, there people. Bottom line, I always come back to this. This may be a cop out. I don't know, but we're all human. We all, every once in a while, something triggers us to do something we wouldn't normally do, don't believe we did. And I'm not saying that any physical harm is justified ever. But, things do happen. People yell, people, get mad and throw things. And God forbid it fatally hurt somebody. That's clearly a horrible crime. But somebody, you hear a lot of these things where the woman I was talking with, the psychologist I was speaking with a couple of weeks ago, was saying, a woman will get mad and throw a book or something at her husband. And, it may not injure him, and she won't believe she did it. I mean, and that's one of those things you talk about, restorative justice. It's like, okay, this is going too far. Let's talk about this. Maybe let's get some help. But we're all human. We're all fallible, and we all do things we regret. Simple as that.
Right. That's exactly. So yeah. So the majority of these abuse cases can be addressed effectively.
Yeah.
Through counseling, mental health approaches, substance abuse treatment, and the like. I mean, there's many underlying reasons here. Sometimes it's, people are experiencing alcohol abuse.
Right.
But, I mean, these are treatable problems. But throwing a person in jail because they got drunk and she hit her husband, I just don't think that's the way we need to go.
Yeah. If it escalates, I mean, you certainly don't want to take any chances either. If it looks like things are escalating or this has been coming to a head and the latest thing is violence, maybe it's time to either leave or get somebody else involved. I mean, escalation is different from knee jerk. I mean, somebody gets really angry and throws something at somebody. I mean, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm sorry. Well, that's something that you probably can talk out. But if this has been escalating and all of a sudden somebody says, I really think about putting a bullet in your head, that's as far as that needs to go before somebody does something a little bit more substantive. So,
right. I don't know if you heard, but there was an incident in October in New York City. This involved a female NYPD officer, and she got involved in a love triangle, right, with her former female lesbian partner.
I think I did hear about this.
Her name was Yvonne Wu, W-U.
Yep.
So Yvonne Wu discovered her ex in bed with the new girlfriend, and so she pulled out her Glock 19 and opened fire. She shot her ex in the chest, and she fired 6 more rounds and killed the the new lover. Now, in that, of course, that's a huge tragedy. You know, part of the problem is people don't want to acknowledge the existence of female initiated violence. But part of that story is that in the weeks prior to that, Yvonne Wu had engaged in stalking of her girlfriend.
Wow.
But the girlfriend basically said, well, it's no big deal, right?
Yeah.
Well, and, again, sort of denial about the problem of female-initiated abuse. Well, it's pretty clear if the stalking had been reported either to the local police department or whoever, that tragic killing could have been avoided.
Yeah, it could have been. Maybe, as we say, I'm big on self-defense and protecting myself with firearms. And we always say to women in the women's world of gun training that protection from abuse order or the police intervention, it's only a piece of paper. And so oftentimes those things go unheeded. And
that's
true. Yeah, and sadly, when tempers flare, I mean, passion is a very powerful motivator, and it's there are so many different ways situations can go. Caution is a big one. Judy says people just need to walk away from the situation to cool off before approaching, and that's probably not a bad idea at all. And know the situation. I mean, know the situation. You've got to understand the person you're dealing with. I don't deal with any people I think could get into a frenzy that was hard enough. Throw a book, maybe. Shoot me with a gun, I don't think so. So, know the people you're dealing with.
And we have seen a growing number of female-initiated homicides in the last few weeks. I mentioned Yvonne Wu. I mentioned the Baltimore incident where a guy was run over by a car. There was another incident where a woman, and this was I saw this on the news yesterday, where a woman who was a hunter, she came back home and she shot her 7-year-old son with a rifle. So, I don't think we heard these stories.
Really?
At least with this frequency, 20, 30 years ago. So
wow.
I'm seeing an increase in the number of these really horrific incidents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no question. Women can be as evil as men. There's no question about it. It's just all in how they go about, getting revenge, or if they feel it's revenge or what, sometimes for no good reason. Well, there's never a good reason. Okay, I'm sorry. I misstated that. There's never a good reason to hurt another person unless you're defending yourself, and then you may have no choice. But, people exact revenge, but sometimes they just get, I mean, we've seen, speaking of a woman taking the initiative, we reported several years ago, I can't remember even where it was, but there was a fight over the last of the cereal in a box of Cheerios or something, and the woman killed her husband over it.
Right.
So, I mean,
John, I've enjoyed chatting with you. This has been a great conversation. I hope we can continue our discussion in the future.
Well, I sure hope so, Edward. I appreciate it. Edward Bartlett. And the website is end2dv, as in domesticviolence.org. I hope you have a great weekend and Merry Christmas, sir.
All right. Same to you, sir. Take care.
Bye, buddy.
Bye now.
There he is, Edward Bartlett. That was a very interesting conversation. That was a very interesting conversation. And this is the set we've talked to it. So I feel like we've, taken both sides. We've given a woman a chance and a man a chance. And both guests talk about the number of women who hurt men physically or even emotionally. Emotional abuse can be abuse too. That's domestic violence. Sure it is. It's not necessarily deadly, but it can sure be hurtful. Anyway, so we'll be right back. We get about 11:42 right now. I'm John James, and this is Freedom's Pep Rally. Thank you for being here.
I keep hearing pumpkin spice this and pumpkin spice that. The fall craze is in full swing, but at Whittemore & Sons, we're excited about something else that's orange. Our line of Coyote tractors. Coyote tractors are some of the toughest, most powerful, fuel-efficient, technologically advanced tractors ever built. And this winter, you'll be able to move that pile of snow, transport that wood, and take care of all of your other heavy-duty jobs in no time. Check out our full line of versatile and tough Coyote tractors, attachments, implements, and accessories at Whittemore & Sons, with the dependable sales and service that you've had for over 50 years. And with a Coyote tractor, you'll never have to settle for just pumpkin spice. You could just create an entire pumpkin patch. If you have any questions or want to schedule a pickup, just call 474-2591. Run ahead of the pack with a Coyote tractor from Whittemore & Sons on the Waterville Road in Skowhegan. Sales and service by a family who cares.
Whittemore & Sons, outdoor power equipment.
Hi, this is Teresa Smith, Assistant Dean of Enrollment at Kennebec Valley Community College. After nearly 30 years at the college, rarely a day goes by that I don't run into someone who tells me they graduated from KVCC or that their son, daughter, wife, or cousin went to KVCC. What a privilege it is for me to work somewhere that has such a positive impact. KVCC offers the training people need to enter high-demand, high-paying jobs while keeping the cost of education low. Whether you want to earn a degree or just need short-term training to learn a new skill, KVCC's got you covered. Our spring semester starts on January 10th, and I would really love it if you were the next person to say to me, "Hey, don't you work at KVCC?" Please check us out online at kvcc.me.edu or call 453-5822. That's 453-KVCC.
If you love to shoot guns or just like to keep those skills up to par, you just need to put some rounds down range. At Economy Guns and Indoor Range at 81 Main Street, Madison, you can. No matter the weather, no matter the day. Beautiful, well-ventilated indoor range downstairs, a gun shop upstairs. One stop does it all. Forgot to bring targets? No worries. They've got those too. And when you go in, make sure you say hi to Rosie. Economy Guns and Indoor Range on Main Street, Madison. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5, Sunday, 10 to 2.
What's important here at Moody's is we have a lot of opportunity for upward mobility.
Moody's definitely helped me through. They sent me to school. I got my degree in business. I had the demeanor and I had the willpower and the want.
Our trade is constantly changing and there's always new challenges that arise.
I definitely feel like an owner. It's very exciting.
When you like what you do, you like your job, you like the people you work with, what else could you ask for?
Bring your skills to Moody's and build a long-term future with us.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Mostly sunny but windy and colder today. A few snow showers are possible in the mountains this morning. Temperatures will stay just in the low to mid 30s for today, but feeling colder with gusty northwesterly winds. Partly sunny, low to mid 30s Saturday and Sunday, with the chance for snow showers Saturday evening. More rain Monday, but back in the 50s.
Thank you very much, Lexi O'Connor. How are you? John James here, 1145. This is Freedom's Pep Rally. We're brought to you by the Gun Shop on Coney Circle in Augusta. Maybe I'll go to the gun shop today. I have not purchased a firearm in over a year. That's a record for me. I want you to know that's a record for me. I like guns. Oh, you're a gun nut. Why do they call people who like guns gun nuts? A gun nut is somebody who goes and just shoots, just pow, 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 like the Wild West. That would be a gun nut. I do need to get a Wyndham weaponry. Yes, I do, Casey. Casey works for a Wyndham weaponry. She's a great American. And Wyndham Weaponry is one of our proud companies here in the state of Maine. I was thinking more of a handgun because I can shoot that out back. I can't shoot a rifle out back. But I did tell you that I do want to get one. You need one too. Well, I don't know. Do you have to buy a Wyndham Weaponry where you work there? You already have Wyndham Weaponry guns. Maybe you need something else. Maybe you need to shop for gun manufacturers. People, the thing about guns, sorry to go into guns here, but I haven't talked about guns for a long time. See my hat? We will not comply. Come and take them. Molon Lave. The thing about guns is there really aren't that many guns out there that are bad. Guns are typically well made. This perfect. This is going to get me into a story about Alec Baldwin. I've been waiting for this, and I just walked right into it here. So I'm going to see if I've got the video. It was a real brief video with Alec Baldwin. Anyway, what I was talking about guns. There really are no bad guns. They're all very well made. Whether it's in America, whether it's in Austria, that's where Glock comes from, or Israel. That's where the Desert Eagle comes from, or it came from. Desert Eagle was made by, it's now made by Keltec. The Desert Eagle is, which is a huge. I've got one. It's a 50 caliber gun, but they're all very reliable. Even the high points. The high points. You can get a high point gun for just over $100, 9mm, and you say, the high point gun, ew. Well, let me tell you something about the high point guns. People who have got them because that's what they can afford, God bless them. If that's what you can afford, they are a reliable weapon. By all accounts, I've never owned one, but by all accounts, they are a very, very reliable weapon. So better to have it than nothing at all. And you can't, I've seen people run over them and then pick them up and shoot them. And they're cheap. So if you're just looking for self-protection and you don't have much money, get a high point. By all means, get a high point. Go out, try it, use it for a while. They're ugly guns. They aren't the sexiest guns in the world. But when you pull the trigger, they go boom. I mean, that's what more can you ask for? And what I said is going to lead me into my next story. When you pull the trigger, they go boom. Only when you pull the trigger. Very, very, very rarely do guns go off. Well, I was walking out of the gun. You heard this story? I was walking out of the gun show and the gun went off. No, it didn't, you idiot. You pulled the trigger. And you assumed it wasn't loaded. Or you were just fidgeting around and pulled the trigger. Now, the gun didn't go off. You pulled the trigger. That's how guns work. They don't go boom unless you pull the trigger. They're designed that way. They are a very safe instrument unless they are fired intentionally. So Alec Baldwin shot a woman on the set of Rust with a Colt revolver. And is very, very sorry. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's still reeling over this thing. I don't have any doubt about that. But do I feel sorry for Alec Baldwin? Well, no. Yes and no. Yes and no. I feel sorry for him because he's ignorant about guns. He's ignorant about guns, and he clearly didn't know how to handle guns. So I feel sorry in that he did that unintentionally. I think he did that unintentionally. Pretty sure you can't get into somebody's heart and mind, but I can't imagine anybody would do that. This young woman died. Somebody else, the director, was injured. But I don't feel sorry for him because his excuse is weak. His excuse is lame. Oh, but he didn't mean to. He didn't know it was loaded. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. He was the last person with the gun. 3 people handled the gun. 1, 2, Alec Baldwin. The armorer, the checker, whatever the other person was, and Alec Baldwin, the last person, the final person to have the gun for the forthcoming scene. And they weren't even filming the scene when this happened, by the way. So Alec Baldwin, being the last one with a gun, told, "Oh, it's safe. It's a what's the word they use? It's a cold gun. That's like cold range is, you go out and you change your target. Range is cold, you're good. And then when you go hot, everybody off the range, everybody clear." So he was told, "Oh, it's a cold gun," meaning it's unloaded. So whether he's filming the scene or not, you still need to pay attention to what you're doing with the gun. You don't just want to willy-nilly pull the trigger, even if you're not doing a scene. And you don't ever, load it or not, unless it's in a scene and you know you're loaded with blanks, you don't ever want to point it with somebody. Now, I understand, in a movie, you have to point the gun at people. It has to be realistic. I get that. But you check, double check, triple check, quadruple check. Person holding the gun is the final check. He didn't check the gun. He was the one holding the gun. It was his duty. It was his duty as a responsible gun possessor. There's the term that is going to get him right there, responsible. He was the responsible one. He was responsible for seeing that the weapon was unloaded and safe. He did not. Clearly, he did not. Either that or he's just blind and dumb. I don't think he understands gun safety. And then he either knowingly or unknowingly tells this lie. Listen, here is Alec Baldwin.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them, never.
Well, you did. You did. You pulled the trigger, Alec Baldwin. You pulled the trigger. First of all, I know a little something about revolvers. There's double action and there's single action. If you've got the gun cocked and you're not filming a scene, are you out of your mind? A revolver is one gun. You hear cocked and locked. A revolver, you never, ever, ever carry cocked. Never. So either you had the gun cocked, which is that means hammer back, which is a very, very bad thing to do with a revolver. Even loaded with blanks. Why would you want to take that chance? And even if you've only used guns in the movies, you know how easy that trigger is going to pull with the hammer back. You know. So either you have the hammer back and touch the trigger, and it doesn't take much, or you weren't paying any attention. And when you're firing a revolver and it's not cocked, it's a reasonably heavy trigger pull. You know you're pulling the trigger on a revolver when it's not cocked, double action, because you pull the trigger and as you pull the trigger, the hammer goes back. And it's a hard pull. And when you get to a certain point, the trigger breaks, which means the hammer drops and fires. So either way, don't say, I didn't pull the trigger, I would never pull the trigger with a gun aimed at somebody. You did, because you did. The gun didn't go off. Now, either he's lying or he's just ignorant. Or he did it not even realizing. But I can't imagine that, especially with a heavy trigger pull. I don't know. I wasn't part of the circumstance. I wasn't there. You weren't there. Nobody was there except Alec and some of the cast and crew. Who knows what really? Alec Baldwin is the only one who knows for sure how it played out. I believe him. He didn't know the gun was loaded. I do believe that. But that doesn't exonerate him. It doesn't relieve him of responsibility. He should have known because he was holding the gun. Sad. It was tragic. But when he sits there and says, I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't pull the trigger. He said it very matter-of-factly. You did pull the trigger, Alec. You did. Whether you know it or did it absent-mindedly, which, if you did that, you shouldn't be anywhere near a gun, ever. All right, so that's all we got time for. I appreciate your time. I always do. Thank you for sharing. I will be back sometime later on this afternoon or evening, and we're going to play you a few scenes on the video streams from the movie Capital Punishment. You've got to see it. You've got to see it. I don't care what side you're on. You've got to see it. In all fairness, especially if you're on the left, you need to see it. You need to be informed. Do us that favor. Be informed, please. It's capitalpunishmentthemovie.com. We'll have a special link. You can email me for it at freedomspeprally@gmail.com, or I will have it up on the screen during the broadcast later on this afternoon. So I would love for you. I want you. I'm not your parent. I would like for you to watch that one. I would like for you to watch Patriot Purge by Tucker Carlson. Both excellent. And both, I would say, must see if you care about truth. Have a great weekend. I'm John James. This is Freedom's Pep Rally.
Legacy 1160 WSKW.
I know you've heard the old adage, buy low and then sell high. Well, with real estate prices rising in the market every day, if you've been thinking of selling your home, now is the time to list your property with Pouliot Real Estate to capitalize on it. While the market may be growing, Matt and the team at Pouliot Real Estate are never too busy to help. In fact, before you go and pay for an appraisal to find the value of your home, Pouliot Real Estate will happily give you an estimate for free. Yeah, I said free. Low interest rates have created an active buying market, which is great for sellers. And there are lots of people selling their homes for a number of reasons. They're empty nesters looking to cash in on the equity that they've built, folks looking to downsize their home to increase their cash, and growing families that simply need something bigger. There's absolutely no obligation, so why not strike while the iron is hot? Contact Pouliot Real Estate for a free home valuation at PouliotRealEstate.com. That's PouliotRealEstate.com. And when you see Matt Pouliot, you tell him Mike Violette sent you.
Somerset Stone & Stove is your full-service stove shop. We're happy to handle those chimney cleanings and inspections, including pellet stoves. Don't wait until the mad rush of fall when everyone wants it done. Make your appointment today and get it taken care of with